What is going on, everyone? This is Tim, also known as the Intentional Millionaire. And in today's stream, we're going to talk about a great topic because as you see in the thumbnail, we got three individuals that has three things in common, but it's shared amongst all three. And with that being said, we're going to have the discussion about what that item is as it relates to what they have in common. But we also want to talk about some of the things that you can do to protect yourself from people like the individuals in the thumbnail. And with that, I'm gonna bring up our panel today. And you familiar with everyone on the panel. They're not a stranger to the channel. The first person we have coming up is Sim Saya. You all definitely know Sim. Sim is one of the financial bros, the finance bros that we talk about here on the channel. He also has his channel, Sim Saya, and Sim is just going to do an introduction of himself, and then we're going to bring up our next person, which is Perry Unlikely, and he's going to introduce himself. So let's stay tuned.
Salute, Tim. How's it going, bro?
It's going fantastic. What about yourself?
Man, I'm good, man. Right now, it's not looking good for them scammers out there. It's hot right now. It is hot. You know, there's a thing to be said about I don't know if it's the drive to have a lot of money and to do whatever is necessary, whether it be good or bad, in order for you to have it. I just don't really understand it. Maybe I was fortunate to not be born into a situation where I had a lifestyle or image to uphold. It's possibly the reason why I don't feel the pressure to portray any sort of image, like being regular self, me having a humble life is something that I'm more than satisfied with. I don't have to project anything over and above that. Secondly, my channel is very much about people being empowered to do the things that they can do on their own. They say that, give a man a fish, feed him for a day, teach a man to fish, feed him for life, So those are really the core principles of what I'm focused on my channel. And if you're interested in being empowered to be able to make your own decisions about what you want to do in your life, check out my channel, Simsia. And it's right there on the name tag. And check me out. I just have regular conversations about money. Anything that's going on in the streets, I want to participate in that conversation.
All right. And the next individual we're going to bring up Mr. Perry Unlikely. And Perry also has a channel on YouTube. He definitely has a vast background in the area of finance. And on his channel, he particularly talked to cryptocurrency, but he has a vast knowledge in other areas of finance. So with that being said, we're going to bring up Mr. Perry Unlikely, and he's going to just give you an intro of who he is and what he does on his channel.
Salute. How's it going?
How's it going there, Perry?
Doing good.
How your day?
Doing good, man. Another day, man. Trying to get this money, man. However I can, man. Well, no, not however I can. Let me be clear. That's what scammers do, right? But nah, man. Just trying to keep things moving, man. No complaints at all, man. Definitely glad to be on here, man. Excited to talk about the what we're talking about tonight. But yeah, I talk about crypto mainly, but really I just like Intentional Millionaire was saying, I've been in, investing for years, whether it's rental property investing, a little bit in stock market, certainly crypto as well, quite a bit in crypto. But I just like to talk about really, I just like financial freedom, right? The idea of really being able to, be free, own something, and really control your own destiny. So that's really what I enjoy talking about. But yeah, I'm definitely excited, guys, to talk about what we're going to talk about tonight.
That is fantastic. So we're going to just hop right into it. The first thing is, let's just kind of talk about the three individuals that we're going to have the discussion about tonight. The first one being DJ Envy. Now, the thing with DJ Envy, he actually he indirectly part of some type of Ponzi scheme, But my thing with him, and we'll definitely talk about it, is it's the concept of he threw a rock and then he hit his hands, because he, to me, is just as guilty as the person Caesar, which was the guy he was promoting that did the Ponzi scheme. So, and we're going to play a video so everybody can kind of catch up to what's going on with him. So that's the first individual. The next individual is the Cash Flow King podcast, and this guy, he's actually a doctor. He holds some level of a PhD, so he has a very high education. And what he was able to do, he was actually charged by the SEC, the Securities Exchange Commission. He was actually charged with a Ponzi scheme of up to $11 million on some properties that he owned. And he was collecting investors' money, having investors going into their retirement, putting money to him, and he supposedly was purchasing properties, but he wasn't. He was just taking that money to fund other people to come invest more money with him. And that was the second individual. Then the last individual, which is Sam Bankman-Fried, and we are familiar with him because he's part of the FTX meltdown. But the bigger issue is because now he's in trial, but his girlfriend slash advisory board, Carolyn, she's kind of telling on him, but I think, she should get the full penalty that Sam faces. But so we want to kind of talk about that. But before I get started, what do you all think about everything that we share with the three individuals before we, get some more contents for those that may not know them or may not be caught up to what's currently going on?
Yeah, I mean, to me, it's scary, man. I mean, if you really think about it, it really is moving me in the direction of not wanting to take anyone's money, right? Because I don't know what it is about these people that sell this idea, do it with me instead of doing it for yourself, and I can just allow you to make passive. Really, let me back up. I think that this whole idea of being a passive investor is possibly part of the main driver behind people finding themselves in these situations. If people would take some ownership in being in position to control their financial wellness, the financial aptitude, the financial intelligence or literacy, I think that it would put them light years ahead of what these people are experiencing now. Now, why is it that we're resorting to asking other people to be our investment gurus? Why are we not empowering ourselves in order for us to be in position to make these investments? There's no such thing as easy money. No such thing. There's no such thing as fast money. At what point do we decide, hey, I need to take some ownership, whether I lose, draw, or win? It's on me to figure this thing out. Even if I have to sit up here and be broke and figure it out with nothing, that way, when I do have something, I'll be in a better position for me to handle the upside. But there's no way that I would sit up here. Maybe I just haven't been in a position where I can just hand over my funds to someone else and say, hey, I want you to completely invest it for me, outside of retirement investing with fiduciaries, Vanguard, and alike, people who are financially or even from a legal standpoint obligated to be advocating for your best interest, ahead of their own. So I don't know. It's really doesn't make sense to me. I can't see how these things can just easily, like, I can hand over somebody $20,000, $30,000. It's wild to me, but I mean, I guess we never really know until the scam comes out, honestly.
That is absolutely a fantastic point there. So what do you think there, Perry?
Look, I think Sim hit the nail on the head. I think it's plain and simple. Especially like real estate, if you get scammed in real estate, you're thirsty. I mean, there's more protections in real estate, the purchase of real estate, than the president. I mean, it's it's very hard to get scammed in real estate. So when you just go handing over money, and I think the more interesting thing is it's we should even be surprised that, because we hear all these statistics, right? So we hear all these stats, which is alarming to me, especially like with the real estate thing, right? We hear all these stats about people who don't have savings, don't have money, yet they have 20 grand to hand over. So something's not adding up, because it's like at this point, those who have 20 grand, we can consider that somewhat substantial for the average American nowadays. I mean, we know how many don't have any money in the bank. So you've got 20,000 and you're smart enough to save that, right? Presuming that you got it the right way. Yet you turn around and hand it over to someone with no protection. It just, things don't add up. But yeah, I'm blown away that people trust these scammers. But I'm also, I can't believe that they continue, as far as scammers continue, to think that this is gonna work. So yeah, a lot to dig into with these topics tonight for sure.
All right, and I think that so first thing before we get started, let me give a shout out to everyone in the chat. And we got a great question, because we got Miss Malika in the building. She say hello, everyone. We got Peter Investor M. Peter Investor M is always over supporting the finance bros, but Peter Investor M, he always has some great thought-provoking questions. So definitely salute to Peter Investor M. We got Mrs. Lash's Journey in the building. What is going on, Mrs. Lash's Journey? Also in the real estate. Miss Malika said, whoa, 11 million. Yep. The Cash Flow King podcast got $11 million out of the people. And we got Mr. How do you pronounce this? I want to make sure I get his name right. How you pronounce this?
Sir Tice.
Sir Tice. All right. So we got Mr. Sir Tice in the building. Salute, and welcome. But Pete Investor M had a question. He said, what's the common denominator for all three people? That is a great question, because that's the reason why we're doing this stream. The biggest denominator, common denominator, all three people is not the fact that they're scamming or scammers. The thing that they have in common is they're all public figures that's doing wrong by the people. Mm-hmm. And I think that's a key component that I really wanted to drive home with this conversation today. It's not necessarily about people scamming, because you can have people scamming that nobody know about. You can have people scamming that could be family members, could be somebody that introduced you to somebody else. But in this case, these three people are public figure people.
Right.
And they still found a way to take from the people. So that's a bigger issue, because they only allowed to do it if they have a willing participant. So I think that we always, one of the things we like to talk about is finances and money. But one of the things that we always have to consider with finance and money comes a high level of a fiduciary responsibility, regardless if you license in the financial space or not. That's number one. Number two, I think we also got to consider that just because you're a public figure and you promote something, it still doesn't make it right. So that's why, going back to Sim's point, we have to do due diligence. We have to understand that passive income overnight just doesn't happen. And the fact that with DJ Envy and Caesar, the fact that people invested $150,000, $200,000, and they thought in 3 months they was going to get a 30% rate of return, that tells me, going back to Perry's point, they did not even review any type of contracts on properties, because the money is made at the sign of the first initial contract.
Right.
So it just tells me that people would just, Sim said it, people, but I'm gonna put it more in a more in your face term. People were just greedy. That's it. Because greed is the only thing that's going to drive you to try to flip something against something without doing a lot of effort. So, but with that being said, I'm gonna bring up this article because I want everyone to get up to speed on at least seeing what we're talking about. So the first article I'm gonna bring up is the article on the Cash Flow King podcast. And I got two areas that's highlighted. So let me bring it up real quick. All right here, share. All right, so I'm gonna bring this all the way up on the screen. And we got to zoom in. Hold on 1 second. All right, there we go. So here, so the SEC.
Well, hold up, we got Peter's comment.
There we go. So the SEC charges the Cash Flow King podcast host with perpetuating an $11 million in a Ponzi scheme. And here it say the Cash Flow King for fraudulently raising approximately $11 million for more than 50 investors in a Ponzi scheme involving notes that were purportedly backed by residential properties. We're not going to go too much in this. I'm going to have the article posted in the description for those that want to get more dive deeper in the article. But I did want to point out this line right here because they did provide his full name. Okay, Matthew Martell. And Martell did not, in fact, secure first lien positions for the investors as promised and regularly sold multiple promissory notes he claimed were secured by the same property to multiple investors. In one instance, Martell allegedly sold more than $100 million of promissory notes to 20 investors. Each note supposedly gosh, I can't.
Collateralized.
Yeah, collateralized by the same property had required more than $47,000. Rather than renovate the properties, Martell allegedly used investors' money to make Ponzi payments to previous investors and for his own extravagant personal expenses included rented lakeside mansions, purchased courtside season tickets to NBA games, and made $400,000 in credit card payments for his wife, Amy Martell, who is named as a relief defendant. So that's one. And here's the thing: the Cash Flow King, he actually have a doctor's degree. I don't know in what subject, but he do have doctor in front of his name. His actually his site has been removed off of YouTube. But I bring that up to show people that he's been actually prosecuted. So that's one. So that's the Cash Flow King. All right. The next person we're going to go to is we're going to look at this short. We're going to look at a few things on DJ Envy. Let me do this presentation. Share screen. All right. So,
recognizable voices in team exclusive investigation involving a real estate deal and one of the most recognizable voices in radio. Investors in a real estate venture say they were swindled out of millions of dollars. And they argue syndicated radio rapper Rashawn Casey, better known as DJ Envy from the show The Breakfast Club, promoted these deals. Investigative reporter Sarah Wallace talked to the alleged victims and has the response to those mounting accusations you're about to hear for the first time.
We've helped so many people, not just regular people, but celebrities, athletes, executives.
That's DJ Envy on his syndicated iHeart radio show, The Breakfast Club. He's often promoted the real estate venture of his pal, Cesar Pina.
You might know him on Instagram as Flippin' NJ.
But it's more than just a passing endorsement.
You could partner with us on some deals, make some money with us.
Envy and Cesar have teamed up for seminars, including one at the Jacob Javits Convention Center, pitching opportunities to flip properties, often in distressed areas of New Jersey.
We invested $200,000 and looks like we're never going to get it back.
Jose Santiago and his wife, Jessica Ortiz, say they believed investing in this neighborhood of Patterson would be their ticket to the American dream.
That's the reason why I got into real estate, so we can actually start flipping properties, buying properties, so we can have something for our kids in the future.
The couple says they connected with entrepreneur Cesar after seeing him on social media with DJ Envy.
He's advertising this all over the radio and on television. I've seen shows of him all over the place, so I thought this was legit.
The pitch to invest in rundown properties that would be renovated and flipped for more money. The promise to return up to 30%. In some cases, Cesar didn't even own the properties. This couple took out $200,000 in equity from their Florida home, promised that 30% return within 4 months. Then they say nothing.
I'm paying the interest right now every month, and I have nothing.
Well, at this point, we just want our money back.
Nigel Chamblin says he was conned by Cesar into investing $235,000 in that same Patterson property, along with two others, $300,000 each for homes in Hawthorne and in Maplewood.
$835,000 in total on all three houses. There were other people investing in the exact same properties. It was a scam. It was a lie.
Augie Rios owns a custom auto wrap shop in Lodi, who says he worked on Envy's cars for years and believed his pitch. He did get back a return on an initial investment with Cesar, but maintains a second investment on this Patterson property went south.
If it wasn't for DJ Envy, I would have never invested into Cesar. I lost a total of $64,000.
After receiving 2 bounced checks, Rio says he got a visit from Cesar carrying this box of jewelry.
He said, take this jewelry until I can pay you back.
How much did he say this was worth?
15, 20 grand.
Then there's record producer Anthony Martini, who invested in what he thought was a promising apartment project in Patterson.
I lost $1 million.
And you went in because of DJ Envy.
Yeah, I did. I mean, you know, I'd known Envy for years.
Martini's attorney has filed a lawsuit.
It's some sort of Ponzi-like scheme where he's taking money from one investor to pay off other investors. You're looking at over $40 million invested with the Pinas in their companies.
Breaking news here on Tony the Closer's Live.
The complaint floodgates opened up when alleged victims started appearing on the social media platform of influencer Tony the Closer, a self-proclaimed real estate scam watchdog.
I decided to make it where everybody would know the disgusting behavior that they're practicing.
Dozens of lawsuits have now been filed against Cesar and his wife. Several also name Envy, who has sued Tony the Closer for defamation after also going on with him live.
And there's nobody in here that could ever say Envy, they gave Envy $1.
Envy, whose real name is Rashawn Casey, declined to talk to the I-Team, referring us to a powerful Manhattan real estate attorney. He says the radio personality lost $500,000 to the Pinas in an investment deal to transform this vacant school building in Patterson into rental units.
He is a victim, just like the other alleged victims are in connection with the scam.
Why, if he's a victim, hasn't he filed a lawsuit against the Pinas?
He has a legal right to file whenever he deems fit. He is now contending with cases that are being filed every day improperly against him.
Why not come out on his radio show and warn other alleged victims if he feels that he was?
This is they're ongoing litigations. And there's no room for them on, any sort of radio show.
A lot of people say they bought in because of Envy's reputation. Does he not have some responsibility?
Absolutely not. The only reason why Envy is sued is to sensationalize the case.
The attorney is seeking dismissals of all the lawsuits. As for the Piñas, we caught up with Caesar's wife, Jennifer, in Bergen County.
Do you have anything to say to the alleged victims?
I say, just hold tight and we're going to come through.
Where's the money?
Listen, that's a Caesar answer for you. I can't give you that answer. He wants to be here with you. He wants to do the sit down. He wants to have this interview. He wants to clear the air. He wants to explain his side, and he wants people to understand what's going on. But, he's been advised to not talk.
There may be some hope for investors. A judge has appointed a bankruptcy court trustee to oversee some of the Piñas properties. Any available assets could eventually be sold off to pay alleged victims. From Patterson, Sarah Wallace, News 4 New York.
All right. So what you all think of that video?
Yeah.
I'm gonna let you go, but rock out, Perry.
Yeah. All cap, the whole thing, 100% of it. Look, man, this is so funny just because, well, first of all, I do want to point out what's interesting. So I do think people should always realize where you're at, right? Now, what's interesting is the one family, now they said their Florida home. I don't know if it's they live in Florida or that's their just another home they have in Florida, but they pulled out $200,000 in equity. Now, that is an investment. Now, if they live in it, I wouldn't necessarily look at an investment, but my point is you have $200,000 in equity in a home. What did you do? You bought the home and Tom gave you equity. That's investing. So then you take that equity and do the opposite. You take that equity and then think that you can quickly make these quick gains. So they literally were a living example of what works with real estate, right? You buy right and you give it time. So that's one thing that I want to point out. And, they said to live the American dream. Well, when you saw that picture of that house, many people would have assumed they were already living the American dream, according to how some people are living. So I did want to point that out. But something that's real interesting to me is, so just in some research, and I don't know the numbers exactly, but DJ Envy owns, it says, 1,100 properties alone in Patterson, New Jersey. So if that's just Patterson, I would assume he has other properties. So he means to tell me he has that many properties, yet he lost $500,000 on trying to flip a school into some units. That to me just doesn't add up whatsoever. So whether it's lies about the properties he owns, because see, a lot of times what happens is people say, I've owned and flipped. Nah. See, I actually have properties. I actually own them. I'm not. So it's one thing to say you own and flip. What that means is you never owned them. You were flipping them. Just properties you've had some type of transaction on. So you really got to pay attention to words. Now, I'm not saying he doesn't own those, but if he does own them, there's no reason that he took that loss. And obviously they pointed out that he hasn't filed a lawsuit himself, which is sketchy to me. But then the last point I want to make real quick is it's funny how he's trying to distance himself. The first things I caught on to was he said he used words we and us. We've helped, da-da-da-da. Let us help, da-da-da-da. No, that is, you are a part of that. And for someone that owns that many properties, right? If he does, for you to not understand how to convey how you got that yourself and became the owner of those without people getting scammed is a scam in itself. So the whole thing's sketchy. And I just don't understand why people would think because he's on the radio that the guy's going to be able to help you become, a multimillionaire. It's just greed is what it is. A lot of it's greed.
That is a great point. And that's that's very interesting. So Sim, what's your take on it?
$40 million, man. I mean, first things first, this is where it becomes unfortunate with people's background, right? Where you have to understand who you're doing business with, right? you have to understand, especially if you're putting your money in it, who has the first position, who has the second position. Like, there's no way you can put money into an investment transaction. Your name is not on the deed. Your name is not associated with no fixtures of the property, but then you're just giving money to people. It doesn't make sense. And there's no such thing. I said it earlier. There's no such thing as fast money. No such thing as fast money. Any fast money more than likely has a bunch of F's associated with it, and that's felonies or fraud, you know? And it just doesn't make sense for you to think that you can make any quick flip without you going through the proper channels. If you're going to be a lender, be a legitimate lender with someone who has a track record of actually delivering upon it. But one thing we can't even say, it's not even like a color thing, because the guy in the Cash Flow King in Ohio, he did the same exact thing. He has people investing into these scams or investing thinking that they're getting first position on these properties, when in actuality, they're getting second position. It just doesn't make sense to me. I don't know, man. There's no reason for anybody to be chasing any fast money. You don't get a quick flip in the real estate business when you were flipping, even when you're doing a transaction yourself, unless you're cutting a whole bunch of corners. But it's only a matter of time before that stuff catches up to you. So I don't get it. There's no way I could just see myself just giving away my money to somebody else and saying, hey, help me out with this 30%. I need this 30%. It's just, it doesn't make sense. And one of the things that I always say is that there was a book that I read when I was about 20 something years old. And I remember that said that a dangerous man is a man that's not motivated by power. He's not motivated by money. He's not motivated by women. A man who is not easily moved is someone that you really want to be aligned with, because you know their motivations is not going to be easily compromised, or their morals are not going to just easily be pulled away from whatever it is that they have going on. And there's power in having that mentality.
That's a great point there, Sim. I can't remember who that was. I've read that before too.
I want to say it was Think and Grow Rich. Honestly, I want to say it was something along those lines, but I have not been able to find that exact reference.
Let me just point out real fast too. Real estate falls under statutes of fraud. It must be in writing. There's any number of people you could have took. First off, if you didn't get a contract, then I don't know what to say. If you didn't get it in writing and you're just handing over someone money, let me get 20 grand then. I mean, I don't know what else to say, but it's got to be in writing. So there's tons of people you could have taken the contract to. You could have called up a hard money lender and said, hey, what do you think about this deal? They would have told you for free, run like hell. So this whole thing just doesn't make sense. There's so many people that would have told you that. And then when you think you have position on something, a deed transfers. Like, these are things that actually go through a legal process. So just to trust someone, oh yeah, you got first position. Like, it's like, it just is crazy. I don't care if it was my uncle that told me I got first position. I want to see it in writing. And that's how everyone needs to be when you come, when it comes to your money. So just in terms of investment, what these people did for me is, it's like planting a crop, right? If you plant a crop, you need to know where's that crop succeed the best. Well, so to me, it's like taking a palm tree, right? Planting in Ohio, in New York. And I said, like, let's not think about where we see palm trees, right? Let's not pay any attention to where you should plant a crop, or just throwing seeds in the ground in a place that gets no water. It just doesn't make sense. And it's hard for me to understand how people continually get caught up in this, other than it being greed. So I just want to point that out.
Right. And to add to what both of y'all just stated, I think though that's the bigger issue why, I wanted us to really have this conversation, was because the fact that I think sometimes when people that, and I'm not making excuses for anyone, because we have to all be responsible and accountable for what we do with our individual dollar. However, I do think because when people don't know, when they go, let's just say, let's look at what Peter Investor just shared right here, right? The two major ways to learn: time by yourself, trial and error; two, money from another person like a coach or mentor. Which would you choose first? So I think for me, I would do both, because I think that's the best way you can leverage, because you paying money for the mentor or coach going to tell you exactly what to do, but then you go do it and learn some trial and error. But the goal is for you to still do the work. And I think that's the bigger issue, is because what ends up happening, most people try to skip the time part and just try to use the money and go straight to the coach or mentor, because I don't want to do the grunt work stuff. And I think that's the bigger issue with a lot of people. The reason how he was able to drum up $40 million in his scenario. But then if you think about the Cash Flow Clean podcast, he was able to drum up $11 million. And then if you think about, Sam Bankman, Friedman, you see how much money he got. I mean, he got billions of dollars. So, I mean, it's just one of those things where Peter Investor bring up a good point. I think you got to be willing to do both. But too many times what ends up happening, so when people normally start out at the very bottom, we do go through the time, the trial and error, things like that. Then once we start to get money, we sometimes forget that part and we want to shortcut. And I think that's why because some of these people, man, a lot of people he got money from were successful people. They want they want just the standard Joe per se. These was people that if you could just send somebody, the one guy said $800 and some thousand across 3 properties. If you could just send that, you got to be doing something else to be able to send that as disposable income for investment, because investment money still should be disposable income. So that's I don't know. What you think, Sim?
I just thought about what you were saying. Isn't it interesting how someone could have collected $40 million? His wife is adorned in some Chanel, and it's obvious that their home is not small. Isn't it interesting how maybe 2 guys might have been motivated by the idea of them impressing their wives in order for their wives to believe that they're living a certain lifestyle? The guy, Cash Flow King, his wife is the relief defendant as a result of her being the beneficiary of these funds. Caesar's wife is also sitting up there. She's attempting to save face and she's speaking to the media, but I see her, she's adorned in the Chanel sweater, whatever. And maybe you can say the Chanel sweater doesn't cost a lot, whatever, right? If you owe people money, you need to be wearing No Name, Old Navy, whatever it is. You don't need to be looking like any sort of money at all if you owe people money and you're not able to pay them either. It doesn't make sense to me.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, I think those are good points. I think you also look at, if you guys ask me, hey, I want to get into crypto, or you say, the first thing I'll tell you is, download these apps. You download it. You connect your bank account. I can show you what I'm buying. You should question when I say, oh yeah, let me get 500. I'll do it for you. Why? Why am I doing that? And here's the thing. I have had family do that, older family, and we're talking like 200, 300. They're not going to download the app. They're not trying to do that. I'll do it for you. But also, here's the guarantee I gave them. Because they asked me and I was happy about their interest. So I'm like, I'll fully guarantee it. Push come to shove. We're talking a couple $100. push come to shove, it goes to dirt, I'll give you the money back myself. I'll take the loss, right? I'll do that for you. And I'm willing to do that. I'll do that for my family. But I'm saying outside of that, it's like, why we've got to start asking, why do I have to give you money? That's the big thing is like all these investments don't require like the house you're buying isn't if you're not buying it from me, right? Then why? And even when that happens, understand, even in a cash purchase of a real estate, right? You don't just hand the person the cash because you still don't on a cash purchase just say here, oh, here you go, the house is mine now. No, it's still got to go through the process. And some states use a closing attorney. You know, some it's done different ways, but some use a closing attorney, some don't. But there still is a legal, a real estate lawyer. There still is a legal process, and that's what people have to get. So that's what's so crazy in real estate is where people just hand over the money. And what's crazy is there's this book that I've got, one of the best real estate books I've ever gotten. I can't remember the name of it. It's in the next room over there. It's literally this guy, all the deals he's done, pictures of the houses, when he bought it, how he bought it, the type of deal he did, and that's it. You can read through the book and see, oh, here's all the different ways you can do it. And now you know all the different ways you can do deals, and then you can go out and you can learn it. So this stuff can be learned. So, as we've said many times, it all ties back to greed. I mean, this all ties back to greed and trying to get money fast. And people know that fast money doesn't work. What can you guys tell me? Can you guys tell me any movie where the scammer or the drug dealer kept doing it and rode off into the sunset and just continued doing it? I've never seen it happen. The only time that a drug dealer or scammer or whatever is seen in a light now where they're making money is because social media, and they've done the jail time and now they talk about it because people are fascinated with it. No one continuing to do it and lives a great and just continues to do it, make the money, no worries, carefree, and does it well. Well, types of bad investments like that is the same way. I mean, it's the same way. You have to learn the hard way. You're going to have to go through it at some point, and you can stumble, right? You can make mistakes in real estate investing, but as Tim always says, you get the deal when you buy it. If you buy it right, you really shouldn't have too many issues down the road. Why? Because, it's kind of like the way you look at a car, right? Some people get all upset about a car. Oh, I'm upside down 2,000. I don't care because I'm going to ride it till it falls apart anyway. So it's like, don't get upset. You get upside down a little bit in real estate, it's not a big deal. You do what you do, but that's the way you got to look at these things. It's just, it's really on the buy up front, and you do not have to give people money. There's no reason to hand someone money unless if you're paying a coach, that's one thing. But even if you're paying a coach, the coach should tell you what to do with your money.
Right.
So,
and they should be making more money from the deals than from coaching as well.
Bingo. And that's
another one.
That might be the biggest problem that I see on YouTube. There's a lot of people that they don't really know what they're talking about, but they're making money, right? But they're making the money off of YouTube. So they have the appearance like they've done this and that, but it's really the YouTube. Because here's the funny thing. And I go back and forth with it, right? We all go back and forth as we're out here working and doing things, and it's about consistency. And that's how it's like me. I can quickly just kind of be like, all right, YouTube, I'm gonna chill for a while because my money's coming from elsewhere. So the money YouTube isn't making me enough to really be that concerned about it. But a lot of people get it flipped around, and then you see this thing where people forget, like, it's like, bro, you were on here 6 years ago and you were dusty. Now, all of a sudden, you've always been just the greatest investor. It's like, no, you're just good at YouTube. That's all. It has nothing to do with your investments. It's all coming through YouTube. That's what you invested in a camera. That's where the investment you made that was good. It was not any real estate or anything like that. But people continue to allow them to do it. And that's what I don't understand. And, a lot of this, if people would just simply ask the right questions. That's all you have to do is you just have to ask the right questions. And I just don't think people do that.
You know, I think an out that people get, you know, there's a narrative about all the wealthy people, they're in debt, right? They use debt as a tool or as a vehicle for them to get what they want, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think what it does is it gives people an out to have debts that are outstanding out there that they have not paid for, while in the same exact breath, they're talking about how much money that they're making in the same exact time, right? So I'm successful, but then here I am. I got people asking for me for money or looking for me in order for them to collect money. I think that is just really interesting. There was something that I was going to say, and maybe I'm drawing a blank for a second. I had to come back and I had to come back to you guys. There was something I was going to say too that I thought about while you were speaking, but I was thinking about the whole debt thing, because Robert Kiyosaki talks about having debt and using that as a tool, a viable tool for him to move himself into positions from a financial standpoint. I get it. It's just, I don't know. There's a lot of stuff that's not really, I don't believe is said, and we don't really understand the full context of it. So they'll allow us to be indebted to these companies and these organizations, while at the same time they have the best best agreements, so they're paying, they have the best terms for their loans and what have you. It just doesn't make sense to me for people to be in a bad situation. Oh, my pettiness, right? Back to my pettiness. Caesar's wife's sweater. I looked it up, guys. On the used market, that sweater is $1,800. The lowest I saw that sweater was $1,200. That same exact sweater. So, how many champion sweaters could you have bought for that same $1,800? You know, come on now. You could have went to Old Navy and got a sweater for what, $30? I don't even know how much sweaters are at Old Navy, but still flexing though.
Well, that's the good thing, because she said that we just gotta wait, because he wants to help. He
Right.
wants things to happen. But for you waiting, I'm gonna make sure I still look good.
Right. Why you wait,
'Cause
right?
I still got this. We still had this 40 million that we enjoy.
Right.
But
Exactly.
but I'm gonna give a shout out. We got some new people join the chat, but I really want to come back to DJ Envy, because and I'm gonna come back to that. So shout out, we got the mortgage boss in the building. Shout out to the mortgage boss. We got Miss Carmel Drip in the building. Shout out. We got Mrs. Conscious Business Service and Opportunities in the building. How are you doing? Good afternoon. We got Professor Black Ops in the building. How are you doing? How's it going? So one of the things that I wanted to say to DJ Envy that I think is fascinating, because the first thing is he's gaslighting his audience. That's the very first thing. Because even if he, like you stated, Perry, first thing, he didn't even file for his 500,000 back. That's the first red flag. The
Mhm.
next red flag is his lawyer stated that people are just filing because almost as though they're using Envy as a scapegoat to make this a prevalent case, in a sense, because he used the lawyer terms, but he's taking all accountability off of DJ Envy. And then the thing that DJ Envy is doing is saying, because he didn't personally receive the money, he didn't take no money, and he's shouldn't be held liable or accountable for him helping promote. And going back to your point, Perry, see, this is my thing when you know a person's character. Because if he really do have 1,100 properties, and he know that people said that they actually invested because he was promoting it, if nothing else, he should do something as far as to say, hey, you know, I'm going to take in, because I did promote it. I didn't personally take your money, but I still feel accountable to some level or some extent. So what I'll do is I reimburse, you know, X amount of money to 10 of the investors. I think that's still better than nothing. But to say that, oh well, you didn't get the money to me, so I don't know why you even talking to me. That's kind of what he's saying.
Yeah, and the lawyer's slick as oil. I mean,
right?
no, they're just doing this because they're just using him because of who DJ Envy is. Oh, you mean the same way that they got in this mess because of who DJ Envy is? Because if he wasn't up there preaching it on the Breakfast Club, they would have never even been in this place. So it's like, come on, it's absolutely crazy. It's absolutely crazy.
And then and to go one step further, and then I let you rock out, Sim. Go one step further. He did this thing where supposedly this on YouTube where he's saying that he's doing this little sidebar interview with Charlemagne the God, where he's saying that he's giving more content outside of his lawyer's consent. But I think people have to know, to me, that's a marketing ploy. Because you tell me he hired this probably expensive, well-known lawyer, attorney to represent him, and now all of a sudden he's just going to start giving out more information that could be a criminal indictment against himself. Make it make sense. That was staged, and that was a marketing ploy to try to pull more of the cover over people's eyes so they can side with him and try to take all responsibility and accountability off himself. Because even so, for him, he's in two scenarios. If he actually have 1,100 properties, then he should have done more due diligence. So he should be just as responsible as Caesar. But now, if he didn't have that, then he should have done more due diligence to make sure Caesar's legit. So
Right.
either way, you got to have some level. You got to have some level of accountability. But go ahead, Sim.
Well, come on now, guys. But maybe y'all are being a little bit hard on our boy DJ Envy, right? in fairness, right? At what point do we start to hold the news stations, the radio advertisers, the YouTube marketers? At what point do we start holding them accountable for promoting scams or promoting companies that ultimately end up scamming people? Right? So it could be everything from like the people who promote pharmaceutical drugs who ultimately turn out to negatively impact people, or they have like some harsh side effects. At what point are people going to be safe to at least have a disconnected relationship with the product and just say, hey, I'm doing this because I was paid to do it, not because I'm advising you specifically to do it? And where's the line at?
Yeah.
See, but I agree. I can agree with that, but I think that's not really the issue. Because and I say that because if you think about an employee on the job, that's just like saying that employee that stole or stealing from the job or doing something wrong, you should also hold a job accountable. You kind of see what I'm saying? So I think that in most scenarios, it goes back to the people, because the job, they're doing their part. So iHeartRadio, the Breakfast Club, they're doing their part. Their job is to promote. That's it. So they're actually doing their job. But the individuals that come on, see, that's where it's up for the audience of the people to hold them accountable when they do wrong. But it's also for the people, if you do wrong, you take some level of accountability for yourself. But what we tend to find is people still rock with people when they identify and show you that they have no character, no integrity, and they just don't give a crap about you and your money.
Yep.
We got more and more examples of that. So the question then becomes, so I see it a couple of times in the comment section, so we're gonna call it out. Look at Jay Moore's. I mean,
yep.
This guy done scammed, and he's about to he want to start another real estate fund, and people,
and he'll do great at it. It'll do excellent.
People still gonna support it.
Crazy. It's crazy.
So really, at that point, is it really Jay Morrison that's the issue or the people?
Yeah, and doctoring it up and all that. That's like the treff. I mean, people, it's a freaking house. Buy the freaking house. I just told my wife last night, I said, hey, the property we got in 2019, we're up 80 grand on it. I mean, we bought it then. It's rented out. It's a fourplex. It's doing its thing. That is investing. Now you can get smarter and do some things along the way. You can buy distressed properties and flip them and do some things like that. But that's a job, though. Remember, that's a job, though. You see, I want, when we talk about passive, it can be passive income, but flipping's not passive income. You're overseeing, even if you're like the foreman and you've got somebody, you still got to handle that. Mine, I have a property manager. It really is passive. I mean, honestly, they give me the numbers. I just oversee, make sure, everything's good, but I communicate with the property manager. But that's the thing to remember. Real estate investing is boring, but there's a reason why, Warren Buffett and Berkshire Hathaway, why he's so rich, because he's been doing it a long time and it's boring. You just buy boring stuff and let it take its time. It's this need to get rich overnight deal. So the thing is these people have lost 80,000. And I wouldn't say being up 80,000 is not typical, just to make that clear. It's not typical in 4 years. But they've lost 80, I'm up 80, and I've done nothing. No stress. I let someone handle it. And that's not even the money coming in. That's just up 80 as far as the actual equity in the property. So I want to make that clear. And that's not the money that it actually brings in every month. That is real estate investing. You buy right and let time do its job. You're not going to get rich overnight. You need to work a job and then invest that, but learn how to invest that and let time do the work for you. And the culture is part of that problem, right? Like the fact y'all thought listening to DJ Envy, a guy on the radio, is the ticket, and just handing your money over is the way to go. It's bogus. It makes no sense. Let me see what Denzel thinks about investing. I'll just do what I'll give him my money. I'm not giving Oprah, Denzel, or nobody my money because I don't need to. That's the thing you got to remember. You don't need to hand over your money. There's a process in real estate.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Slim.
No, go ahead, Tim.
No, I was going to read this one for Professor Black Ops. He said Warren Buffett is 1% intelligence. You can't compare people to the best investor of all time. Shaking my head. That's pretty good.
But the thing about it is, though, best investor of all time, though, he's done it by very simple methods, though. It's his thing is the amount of time he's dedicated. Because you can literally work on an assembly line, push stuff down the line and know nothing. Just go in and push a box down the line. And if you put money away for 60 years, you'll be a millionaire. You don't even need to put it away that long, but I'm saying you'll have tons of money. You don't need to, you can literally look at what other people are doing and learn some of this. I mean, you can take the S&P, right? Just put money in the S&P, do nothing. Like some of this stuff is really not groundbreaking. It's very simple. But it's just that people are just trying to find that way to get rich, and that's just not how it works. If you want to get rich, you got to produce. I mean, let's be honest. It's business owner, or if you invest, you're going to invest over time, or you got to have a skill that only a few people on the planet have, and that's whether it's acting, whether it's athletes, and they dedicate a lot of their time to that. So when we talk about just getting rich, we know the ways to get rich. That's the thing. That's the thing about it. Everybody knows how you get rich. It's when you try to shortcut the process, you end up failing like this. It happens time and time again.
And Warren Buffett only invests in things that he understands too, right? He doesn't invest into sophisticated transactions or processes. He invests his money into things that are tried and true, and he looks for opportunities where there's a need, and then he applies himself into those spaces in time for it to go all the way up,
Right. Absolutely.
Peter Investor M asked a great question here. He says, so now what's the best way to mitigate your risk to exposure? I think that's a great question.
So, because I want to be clear, when he says mitigate your risk to exposure, are we talking about, is he talking about just in investing in general or specifically, or real estate specific?
Peter
But there
Investor
is
M share. I would think he just probably saying to, I think he'll share in the chat. Expand Pete Invest M for what you mean by mitigate risk to exposure. But I would say if we're talking about just about having public figures promote things, I think the first thing is.
Oh yeah. That's good.
I would say the first thing is he said real estate. But I would say the first thing is going back to one of the things Perry talked about, having an actual contract. One, having a contract. I
Yep.
think two, having an actual plan for the actual property. Meaning,
Yep.
If they look into buy and flip, okay, what is the renovation plan and timeline? What is the contractors you're going to use? What's going to be the total cost? So it's looking at I like to say the financials, the business plan, the financials, the balance sheet, looking at those things. Because a scammer, 9 out of 10, they ain't going to be able to produce this stuff. Because they ain't going to be able to think fast enough because the money already gone anyway. So they're trying to get some more money from somebody else. That's one. I think the next thing is, when you're talking about real estate, I think you need to first go look at the physical property.
Right.
I mean, I don't understand. That's one of the benefits of real estate is you get a tangible asset.
Yep.
So why wouldn't you go look at it? If nothing else, if it's in another state, send somebody over or pay somebody to go look at it. Like, I don't understand. If I'm going to send somebody $150,000 and they in New York invest in property, I'm going to make a trip to New York because that trip is minute compared to 150,000. The cost of that trip is minute compared to 150,000. 1% or 100%. Which one would you rather default on?
Yeah, you make a great point. I just want to speak to that point you said about a plan. One thing I used to say, and I haven't bought anything recently, so you update your formula, right? But the way I used to say it was like this: if I'm buying a multi-unit, one unit must pay for the other unit. If it's 10 units and 5 are rented out, all the bills are paid. So all the bills are paid for the unit, and the other 5 can be empty. If it's 2, then 1 and 1. If it's 4, 4, 2, and 2. So now that used to be my thing. So I already knew when I looked at a property, I knew, oh, okay, cool. Let me run the numbers. So you got to have numbers, and you got to have a cutoff point. Like if it doesn't meet these numbers, see, the thing is, you have your formula first, and the property, you're looking for the property that fits your formula. You don't just go and try to make numbers work. If they don't fit the formula, it's not a good property. So you got to scour through tons of these. But now what's happened is with the interest rates, a lot of that's changed. That's why I haven't been just jumping into deals. I have to now reestablish what is the new formula that's going to work in today's market. So that may be where, okay, now because of the interest rate, I'm going to need to buy properties that I can fix up. Because I need that extra, I really need to get that extra money from me being able to fix them up and stuff. So there's always ways to get there, but that's what you got to look at. And like you said, you got to have a plan. Like you can't just buy it and then say, okay, now what? You got to know what the deal is from the minute you go looking. This is this type of property, So
what do you think, Tim, in reference to being able to figure out a way to vet these opportunities, or at least to reduce your risk?
Well, so for me, one of the things I'm going to do is I want to go. If I'm going to invest in money, I'm going to say let's meet at the property. Or I want to see the property, and then my question is, if it's a buy and flip or whatever the case may be, if they're going to flip the property, I want to know based on what they see right now. Want to know what do you see and how much it's going to cost to do renovations. And if they experience like they claim they are, I should be able to get that within 24 hours.
What about the idea of them being able to put like a lien on their personal residence for equivalent value?
That would depend on a few things, because first thing, the personal residence needs to be in their name. 2, it has to be a personal residence of value. 3, I need to check the backlog on that personal residence and make sure it's not they stand there, but they may got it tied to an LLC that's held by this LLC, that's this and that. So they got all this legal stuff in place that even if you do that, you're gonna spend so much money in the court stuff just trying to get it clear for your portion that it's not going to be cost beneficial.
Go ahead.
Yeah. So, but I think that's a viable option if everything checks out well. Yes.
I mean, you've got to get some kind of collateral. You just can't be taking people on their word. I mean, you think about the people who built Las Vegas. They were not allowing people to just jerk them around, you know. The people who were involved in like big money transactions, they were saying, hey, listen, if you jerk us, we're going to come find you. We're going to come see you. You know, it's just, I don't know. I mean, I salute the people for really not resorting to anything wild or barbaric.
Oh, Sim putting hits out now. Okay.
I'm just saying, I mean, at what point do you start coming to see him? You know, I mean, $200,000, $1 million.
Here's how you limit exposure. To me, you go through traditional investing. It's very simple. I mean, there's nothing to limit actually, because you got to have enough money to get it, or you ain't gonna get it, and the house has to be up to a certain standard. So at that point, the especially, and if you're buying it as an investment property, then it's even protected then, because they're not wanting you to get yourself in hot water. If you don't want to do that, and you just really got to go out, hard money, they're not going to let you jack up, because they're going to be like, you can't make no money from this. I'm not giving you money. And what they're saying is, with hard money, right? They're saying, hey, if you don't do right by it, they're going to already tell you if a hard money lender is giving you money, it is a good deal. They're not going to give you money unless it's a good deal. And then if you can't handle it, they will take over and they'll finish it off, or they'll find someone who can. So that's the way of doing it the traditional way. If you don't want to go traditional and you want to do a flip, but if you don't know what you're talking about, the hard money lender is going to tell you no 50 times. And then by that time, you might know what you're talking about. So if they give you the money, you're in good shape. That's how you start to learn how to look at deals. If you just do those two alone, you've limited your exposure. Now, if you trust some funky DJ, there's no way to limit that exposure. Trusting a random guy on the internet, no way to limit exposure with that. No way. That's the way I look at it, though. So you need to really go through one of those traditional methods, or like a hard money lender, and then make sure the hard money lender is reputable, right? That's the thing about it. But even so, they're giving you the money. So in that case, you just want to make sure you understand the terms of it and stuff. So and it never hurts to spend $1,000 to have someone professional, like a real estate lawyer, just read over a deal. Because I would rather spend $1,000 than lose 150,000 of them.
Right.
So if they're like, no, it's no good, try to work something out where it's like, hey, I got 3 deals. Can you look them over for $1,000? And if they're, you can work out those types of stuff, and then say none of them are good. Okay, I lost 1,000. It's better than 150,000. That's the way I look at it, though. So you're gonna have to spend a little bit of money, but that's the easiest way to limit exposure, and get to know a lender as well. They'll tell you any and everything there is to know about properties and things like that.
I think you hit it on the head, Del Perry. I think people has to build a network.
Right.
We got to get uncomfortable with being comfortable. And what I mean by that is, I think people got to start really reaching out and know how to tap into professional networks when you have certain things coming in place. That goes back to being prepared. I think most of the time when people try to do a quick come up, they not really prepared and they just winging it. And it's basically like playing Russian roulette in Vegas. It's just random and let's see what happened. We ain't doing no planning. And I say the best way, going back to what you originally said, is time. The way you get wealthy is time. Unless you gonna be a celebrity, an actor, an entertainer, singer, a rapper. If you're not going to be none of those, then 9 times out of 10, you're gonna have to do the traditional route. And you're gonna have to take time. Even for Warren Buffett, it took time.
Like 70 years.
Right. So the difference was it took time, but he took one win and he just built off of that win and took more time with another big win. And then he had the snowball effect of winning.
Right.
And I think that's really what that really boils down to. I think the best way to limit your exposure is get you a network of people in different professions. And we have to get out of us just being one-offs or being barbaric about how we do things, meaning it's just us. But just like our panel right now, we have all three of us different perspectives, but we all coming together to share ideas, and that's building out a network. So even if we have a question or things like that, we can reach out to each other. See, that's what it's all about. But also that helps you start to build networks, and then that's how you learn because other people know things you don't know. I think a lot of times that people sometimes too, I think we get individually arrogant. I'm gonna just say what it is. What do I mean by that is we get too afraid to get people around us that's better than us. But that's the fastest way to get the right answers. I don't understand.
Yep.
But what you think, Sil?
I think there's tremendous power. Like one of the things that I really look for specifically in everyone, whether it's Tim, Perry, Wealth Engineering, the Mortgage Boss, whoever it is, I am attempting my very best to replicate the way that you think. Like I want to understand the way that you would go about like deducing the next steps that need to be taken. Okay, all right. So how would the Mortgage Boss look at this situation? Like here it was last week. I was asking her about the probability of finding a quadplex or a triplex in this market. Yes, there's news that came out that said that you no longer have to bring 20% to the table for such a transaction. Now you can bring 5% to the table for that sort of transaction. But then I'm asking her, how likely is it for the city to approve those plans to have a quadplex or a triplex? And how likely is it for me to be able to build one from the ground up? How difficult would it be for me to find the plans? I mean, everything that we hear online about the house hacking and finding a quadplex, a duplex, how probable is it from the standpoint of someone who actually does mortgage loans on a daily basis? Those are the things that I want to understand. That way I can say, okay, if I really have real questions, then I can use her as my sounding board or reach out to her and say, hey, how would you do this? Or how have you seen this work out? Because regardless of the fantasy that was sold online, what people see on a day-to-day basis is the real.
Right. And keep real estate investing simple, guys. Look, I've been passing this place for like the past 2 or 3 months now, right? I've been so busy. All of a sudden, I've been living here for years. All of a sudden, the grass is not cut. Continues to grow and grow and grow. Then somebody finally came and cut it down. It's grown back. Something's going on with that house. Something abnormal. Someone has passed away. Someone, if they own it, something's going on. No one's living in it. Something has happened, and someone's not paying attention to the property they own. They may have financial troubles. That is a symbol or or gives you an idea that that is a property someone may be willing to sell it because they're not taking care of it. You can see code enforcement sometimes on the door. You see the big orange stickers. These properties, I mean, just get out and look when you're driving and you'll start to see little signs. And those are how, especially when the market gets tough, you acquire certain deals. So that's why there's different skills, even within real estate investing, that there are, that people want to have. Like, that's the thing is, if you're good at flipping, you don't spend your time trying to acquire properties. You go to the people who are good, like wholesalers. You go to them, right? You have real estate is its own ecosystem. You get to know some realtors. They see properties, they get properties, pocket listings and things like that, so there's all kinds of ways, but you got to get around people who are in it or people who do understand them. And the thing is that do understand real estate. And the thing is, if you ask questions, most people will help you because it's one of those things where everybody can feed off of each other and make money. So it's not even like you're being charged. I mean, no different than if you decided not to use a realtor to buy a house, it would be dumb because it's free. Why would you not? Right. So that's the thing is, so you just call them and ask questions and learn stuff. The seller in most cases pays for that. So use it to your advantage. So
Think about Mortgage Boss question here. She said, do you all think that this arrest will open a Pandora's box for the feds to look into all the other people Envy made? I don't necessarily think so.
yeah, I don't either. Unfortunately, I just think it'll be one of those things where I don't even know that Envy. I don't even think he'll pay the price on this.
Yep, I think he's gonna get off.
Yep, I think he'll get off. I think the Pena guy he'll probably pay the price. But yeah, Envy probably gets off. And I think the big thing to learn from this is you got to always ask why. You got to always ask why someone is willing to teach or do whatever. We all have a reason, right? So at the end of the day, you just have to, like, people keep on selling. Oh man, I'm just warm hearted. I really like to help people. Look, and that's fine. I actually do like to help people, but I also like extra YouTube revenue. I mean, yeah, it's an extra form of revenue. So for me, it can be twofold, but you got to start asking why people are. So why is DJ Envy wanting to get all these people involved in it, right? And you always have to ask that, and you also got to ask, where do these people always go to? Because I can tell you, Jay Morrison wouldn't come to us three because he knew he'd get turned around and slapped out the door because he knows we're not falling for that. That's the thing, is like, he goes to places where people have no clue what's going on. And the thing is many of these people investing in this case is kind of different, which is interesting because the norm is you go somewhere where, people can barely afford to have their own place, and get them to invest. They don't even have their own home. They don't own their own home. So, excuse me.
I think that's what made this actually so unique, is because for me, why DJ Envy should be held more accountable is because they got a higher type of income, a more affluent type income type investors, because DJ Envy was the face.
Right.
And that's the reason why it's just mind-boggling that he's not taking no level of accountability. Because without DJ Envy, Caesar would have never got as many investors, and he wouldn't have got that type of client base of investors.
Right. Right.
Because
Yep.
I guarantee you the one guy that said he between the 3 properties was over 800 and some $1,000. I guarantee you he probably a fund manager.
How did this brother? I don't.
He was I think he was no, he was a music artist. I think he was an investor. Hey, Tim, go back to the video. Go back to the video where Envy's promoting. Let's see who's doing the talking.
Oh,
Let's see who's not doing the talking. Or at least let's maybe look at like the facial expression, who's looks like they're genuinely passionate about the opportunity to introduce people to the space. And then the people who, or the person who's probably the most mute and expressionless. Because that's something I was noticing when I watched that when you were playing that video earlier, and I want to see if the people pick it up. Go back to the part where he's
Envy was just the fishing hook, basically.
Yeah, right here at the
Real
beginning.
estate deal and one of the most recognizable voices in radio. Investors in a real estate venture say they were swindled out of millions of dollars. And they argue syndicated radio rapper Rashawn Casey, better known as DJ Envy from the show The Breakfast Club, promoted these deals. Investigative reporter Sarah Wallace talked to the alleged victims and has the response to those mounting accusations you're about to hear for the first time.
We've helped so many people, not just regular people, but celebrities, athletes, executives.
That's DJ Envy on his syndicated iHeart radio show, The Breakfast Club. He's often promoted the real estate venture of his pal, Cesar Pina.
You might know him on Instagram as Flippin' NJ.
But it's more than just a passing endorsement.
You could partner with us on some deals, make some money with us.
Envy and Cesar have teamed up for seminars, including one at the Jacob Javits Convention Center, pitching opportunities to flip properties, often in distressed areas of New Jersey.
We invested $200,000.
So, as we can see, it's a coldness, and he's just quiet, and it might get a nod. You got a hand gesture out of it. I'm gonna say something, and it's gonna be a little bit divisive. This is one of the situations where the background of the individual becomes super, super important. Now, with his background, Caesar, he should have been working twice as hard to make sure that he could not be implicated as being a scammer. Now, here you are being justice involved, or whatever the term you want, having a criminal background, but then you're being implicated in doing more fraudulent things to the people, taking people's money. It doesn't make sense to me. At a certain point, you should just stop. Don't take people's money and say, "Hey, listen. Right now, I'm not taking on any additional investors." But for you to get to 40 million, and for people to say, "Hey, we haven't seen no returns on our investments," between that, or maybe you do the work yourself. That way, you could absorb some of the expenditures that you would have as a result of you contracting stuff out. But it doesn't make sense to me for you to already have the background, and here you are having to deal with the threat of you being implicated in some sort of fraudulent or felonious acts. It doesn't make sense to me, and it's important for us to keep our background as clean as possible, because once we lose that, we lose the opportunity for us to present a good faith argument, or for us to show that we come from a genuine place. It's super difficult, and don't let it be a financial fraud. I mean, you might be scarred for life. There are some people who can get away with that. They'll call it white collar or what have you, and they can go into an adjacent space and have upside potential. You just don't get that when you're outside of the community who deal with money all the time, and I don't get it. It doesn't make sense to me at all.
Good points. As he said, come make money with us, but nah, it was come make us money. The people were the deal.
Right.
The people were the deal for them.
And he was doing seminars, and Caesar was doing one-on-one coaching with people. They was paying him, I think it was $1,000, $2,000 from one-on-one coaching. So, but envy was the face that was drawing the people in.
Yeah.
It's just amazing to me, that he just acted like, I lost 500,000 too. I'm just like you all. So I never took no money from no one. But like you going back to what you said, Perry, but all his promotion is using words like we, us.
I mean, the crazy thing is like, it's like you pay a hitman. I never shot nobody. It's like, come on, man.
Right.
I mean, come on. You don't have to. It's like you're still implicated on this. Like you were a part of it. You were the one supposed to hook people in for them to be scammed. That's what happened. Your job was to hook people in, and that's exactly what you did. You baited them because of who you are. That is what it is. Because the thing is what's real interesting. Where are your celebrity friends you've been helping? Where are they at? Where are they? Where are the celebrities you're around every single day who actually have the money to invest? Well, where are they at?
Why Charlemagne the God ain't invest?
Right, yeah, why hasn't Charlemagne invested?
Just about to say that. Charlemagne and NGE.
Why? How come they haven't invested with you? Isn't that really odd? People that spend time around you every day, and you're around people who have money all the time, but they're not investing in you, but yet these random people are. I mean, you got to look at stuff like you literally got to look at stuff like that and be like, okay, so let me try to find out who he's helped. What celebrity has he tried to help? I mean, and here's the deal. You'd be better off asking Rick Ross, who owns multiple properties, Lil Boosie, who owns multiple properties. Because guess what? They own multiple, but they're not trying to sell you anything. So if you ask them, you might actually get a straight answer because they're not trying to sell you anything. When someone's trying to sell you something, you do have to ask the question. That's what you always have to ask the question now. Because if he has that many properties, if you got 1,100 properties just in Patterson, New Jersey, and then you have other ones, and then the job you have, you got enough bread the straight way. Something you don't need to be going trying to spending all like you're spending all your time doing seminars. Something ain't right about that.
Right. And it doesn't make sense going back to what you originally said, Perry. When you think about it, he got 1,100 properties and he's saying he lost $500,000. Like,
yeah, that's like, yeah.
So you didn't learn nothing from your 1,100 shots.
Right.
Like,
Exactly.
You shot the free throw 1,100 times and you still can't hit one.
Yeah,
Get out of here.
Something not adding up. Something's not adding up at all. Not adding up at all.
Carmel Drip say, if Envy gets off, do you think he would clean up his act or be a smarter criminal? No, his character ain't changed. So he's just gonna get more core. I mean, think about Jay Morris. I mean, they're just gonna transition to something else.
Morgan's boss thinks that he's gonna go to jail. She said that. Did you see what she said? That they picked up the computer. You see, the thing about the feds is they almost have an unlimited amount of time for them to watch you before they come and pick you up. And they say that majority of the time they already have the evidence against you before they even pick you up. So it's almost a shut case, you know.
Professor Blackout say, Envy, we and us is going to jail. That's pretty good. But no, and here's the thing. I don't never want to see nobody get locked up or things, but if you do the crime, you got to do the time. Like, and if you're innocent, you should have enough information to prove you innocent.
My question is did Charlemagne give DJ Envy Donkey of the Day?
No,
because he should have.
Even with the stage, he's given, he's talking outside of his lawyer's recommendation. When he done that, Charlemagne should have gave him the Donkey of the Day.
Yep.
Like, when you really think about it.
And the fact that they literally got him up on the show. Like, you bought this guy up on the show, man. It's like, just think about it. Of all the people that come up there, who is this Pena guy? It doesn't even make sense. That's not. It's usually rappers. It's usually people, and it's usually people who are known. But you bought him up this time. It's because you were trying to sell something. You were trying to sell something. I mean, so it just, this whole thing's crazy. It's sad.
Well, we're gonna drop the link if anybody want to come up and share their insight on this topic. We definitely gonna drop the link in the chat. Come on up and share, add to the conversation. And if anybody got scammed by DJ Envy or the Cashflow King podcast or FTX, come on up and share and tell us, are you on the bankruptcy list and possibly get some of your money back?
Man, what's the point, man? What's the point? There's no point to scamming, man. I don't get it. I mean, why take money from hardworking people, man? Let people make and lose their money on their own. They don't need no help doing that. Like, it's an interesting situation. I guess someone could say that they lost money with you if the transaction didn't go as planned. But I don't know, man. It's like, we talk about group economics. This is part of the conversation where it gets really, really tricky, because we talk about group economics. I could say that some of the people who participated in these transactions more than likely thought that they were participating in group economics to some capacity, and things just didn't work out the way that they saw it. It's difficult for me to say that people with a background should not be trusted, because I think that the way that the criminal justice system really works, it's like, throw a whole bunch of stuff at the wall and just see what sticks. And that's unfortunately what happens. And I don't know if it's a hard line that we can draw, but like, I like the idea of some sort of collateral of some sort that keeps people accountable and keeps them from saying, hey, listen, I'm going to jerk you out your money and you're not going to do anything about it. Come and catch me, try to catch me in small claims or whatever.
Right. What is going on, Professor Black Ops? How's it going there, sir?
Y'all brothers got me upset, man. I love y'all young brothers, man. Y'all done got me fired up, man. I'm fired up. I'm mad at Peter the most. No,
but go ahead.
You brothers are at the top of the pyramid. Y'all know what you're doing. The average person's like the celebrities not trying to invest because they don't have any money. Y'all the numbers, the average black man makes $42,000 a year. That's $21. And Peter investors comparing everybody to Warren Buffett like he's just an average dude. I'm like, come on, Perry, you gotta help me a little better. You talking like Warren Buffett like your average $42,000 dude. Come on, Perry. You gotta work with. No, hold on, Perry. Don't get me wrong, Perry. Everything you said was 100% correct. But remember, the top 10 guys challenged Warren Buffett. He said, I'm gonna invest in the index. They said, well, we're gonna do all this fancy stuff. They owe Warren Buffett $100,000 because they try to do too much. Like you said, Perry, these are the best investors in the world, Lars. And you talk comparing average dudes to Warren Buffett. That's the only thing got me a little riled up, Perry. But everything else you said is right. And the only other thing is, that's why they doing it, man, because they trying to get that quick hit, that quick lit. People about to be evicted. But how many people getting evicted in California right now?
Right.
Half of them probably shouldn't be there, man. So I just want y'all to give the little guys a little love, man. Y'all talking down to them, they trying, man. They struggling. And like you're right. When you invest in real estate, you should go through a title company, right? Get your loan on the deed so people can see it. But they don't know nothing about that, man. They just trying to make it.
Yeah. I feel you on that. I'm just gonna say this, man, though. But the problem I do have with that, though, when I could barely rub two sticks together, you weren't gonna get me. You wouldn't gonna get me out of 1,000. Let alone. That's why I just don't. Sometimes it's hard. But I'm a natural skeptic, though.
Facts.
I always have. I was just born that way. I'm just gonna question things, and I do overanalyze. It's like even when I buy a car, I take 2 months.
What's your degree in?
State. So
what's your degree in? I'm interrupting you. What's your degree in?
Supply chain management and logistics.
Come on, man. People don't even get degrees, and you talking like you a regular investor. Give yourself some love, man. You a special brother, man. You can't compare yourself to average dudes. You got to give them a little grace, man. That's what I said in 2024.
Yeah.
You got to give them some grace. You too hard on them, Perry. You a special brother, man. Give yourself some love, man.
Now I appreciate that, but when do they? At what point though?
Do they learn? Never. Jay Morrison has stole $16 million from the community. He did the same play as Jay Morrison, and he did it worse than Jay Morrison because he fat like me. At least Jay Morrison had a nice suit. He was skinny. They were standing on the top of the house on the deck with the skinny wife. At least Jay Morrison with the Maybach. At least Jay Morrison looked the part. He looked fat and broke. So he didn't even look the part and stuff. Let me let Miss Mortgage Boss in here. Let me get off my soap opera. I'm gonna give it to the queen. Go ahead. Hold up. I had to get on Perry a little bit. I wasn't happy. Go ahead. I'm 55. I had to get on it. Go ahead.
Hold up, but Professor Blackout. But one thing, I think you may have came in. One thing that I was sharing though, for the average working person though, is because the question Peter Investor M asked. Do you do time?
No, they don't have time. That's the problem. No. Everybody trying to skip the process.
Hold on. Do they do time or do they do money? And one of the things I said, the average person need to do both. Meaning that if they're going to use their money, then they're going to have a little bit of trial and error.
I'm hitting you the same thing I hit with Perry. I'm interrupting you. You at the top of the pyramid. The average person doesn't have patience. That's what makes
right. That's right.
So the average person doesn't have that. When I'm making $42,000 and I got 3 kids and a baby mama, I don't have time or patience, brother. Come on, you got to give them some grace, man. Y'all talking like these dudes are. What's your degree in? I mean, what's your degree in?
Electrical engineering.
Come on, man. That's not the. Sim said, what's your degree in? I'm throwing. What's you in there?
Listen, man. I was a fixer before I was anything, man. But I did.
What's your degree in?
Engineering.
Come on, man. Everybody cut their mic off, man. I'm letting Mortgage Boss. Y'all just cut your mic off, man. People ain't on your level, man. I'm just saying, get them brother some grace. Perry had me flustered. I'm like, you just not comparing everybody to the Mr. Warren Buffett. Like, dude's a regular. You can't do that, Perry, man. That's my own. But look, everything else was right, Perry. That's all I'm saying. I'm with y'all. I love y'all. Y'all just can't do that. Go ahead, Mr. Mortgage Boss. Let me get off my soapbox. I'm gonna let her in.
Go ahead, Miss Mortgage Boss.
Hey y'all, can y'all hear me?
No.
So what's up?
So I wasn't prepared, so I don't have the the lights, the all of the.
It's all good. It's all good.
I am a residential mortgage lender, and so I do converse with people on a regular basis about their aspirations to become investors or first-time home buyers. And I want to make 2 points. One is, generally speaking, people of color just don't trust professionals, right? I cannot tell you the number of times where I've had conversations where people will say, oh, well, my money's not in the bank. Well, where is it? What you mean? Where is your money? Oh, it's in a safe. It's in a safe at the bank. That don't make sense, right? So I think that's one of the things. Two, I don't think as people of color, we have enough conversations about money just out loud, just to really fully understand what other people are doing and how they're moving. They don't want to converse with professionals. I get challenged on a regular basis. They challenge my 9 years of experience, my foreclosure I've had, my repossession I've had ups and I've had downs. They don't want that. They're going to ask their cousin, they ain't never done nothing. They'll come back to me 2 weeks later, challenging me on something that I said. Then the third thing is, when it comes to investing, one thing that I'm finding is that people want to be investors because it's so romanticized on HGTV, and you see the highlights of people's lives when they've invested, but they don't want to actually put any money in the deal. So I think that's a part of why they want this really quick return on their investment. I had someone ask just today if we could do a no money down DSCR loan. I'm like, so you just want us to just give you like what do you mean? That doesn't sound like you're investing anything. If you're not putting anything in, why do you think you should be able to get anything out? It just doesn't logically make sense. Mm-hmm. But that's another symptom of this shortcut society. So that's all I had
Nice.
to add.
Shout out to Miss Mortgage Boss with her degrees and her experience in there. See, but now, just like adding on what she said is, and what Perry said is, when you go to a professional, we all here professionals, so we understand what that means. And Miss Mortgage Boss knows 30% of Black people are unbanked because we got baby mamas, we got liens, we got credit, we got people chasing us. So 30% of Black people aren't in banks to begin with.
Yeah, that is wild. I think that's my mentality's always been different there too. I'm paying the professional also to preserve my time, so I can be doing something else. So even years ago when I was in Maryland, I remember they never had me. Well, they sent me the next lease to sign, right? I forgot to sign it. So I kept on paying month to month. Rate stayed the same. Well, I went to move and I gave them a notice, but they're like, nah, you got to give a longer notice. I'm like, nah, I don't actually have to because I didn't sign the lease. And they're like, well, you should have come and signed it. I'm like, that's y'all's problem.
Fine.
But even in that, right, I was just like, I'm just going to pay someone. I'm just going to pay a lawyer and let them handle it so I can move on. Because I don't want this deal. And, we will leave stuff jacked up in a heartbeat. I didn't want no loose ends when I was moving to Atlanta. I was like, so I'm out. She handled it. And the lawyer turned around and said, this one's so easy, and sent me like most of my money back. It was that simple. And I moved on. Like, it's just to save the time. I knew I was right. I don't have time to be dealing with that. I needed to be moving and handling other stuff. And that is something that's really given me insight because, just the fact it is mind boggling for me that people are so hesitant, and they'll like call cousin Kiki, like, hey, tell me about this. And it's like, she don't know nothing about that. Why are you trying to ask her? But they'll do it in a heartbeat. And then they'll turn around and give them advice. Like they know what they're talking about rather than just trusting a professional.
But like anything, people trust people. And I shout out to Jay Morrison. Jay Morrison built up trust doing that corner BS for 10 years. Right. I mean, you see, hell, I was sending it to people, even though I knew half of it wrong, because he got to street dudes. I was trying to get street dudes. I'm like, dude, you making some money, invest it. Nah, man, I don't want to do none of that legal shit. I sent them Jay Morrison. They like, why am I getting real estate? Because Jay Morrison had that down, and he built that trust over a decade. Now, most of us knew, like, there's some hoes in that. Like you said, where's the lending institution? Like you said. But the first house I bought, I did have a contract, but I bought it on owner financing. I had a contract, but I gave 20K over. I didn't have my name anywhere on lien position. Then when I found that out 2 years later, I was like, oh, yeah, I ain't never doing that shit again. But the first time, but it went through. I didn't have any problems, right? But I did have a contract. I had a basic contract drew up by a term. But even with the contract, my name, my loan's gonna be on that title flow somewhere. So when you Google it, my stuff's gonna come up. But I've been in the game for 20 years doing small real estate back and forth. You had too, Perry. So once again, you got to give people a little grace, Perry. Man, that's all I'm saying.
I got a real estate license too, so that's
come on, Perry. I'm really mad at you now, Perry.
So I got a little bit more insight than the average person, though.
Nah, man, really mad at you, Perry. Come on, man. Go ahead.
So, Professor Blackhouse, I got a question for you.
Yeah.
So when we think about, because Mortgage Boss touched on a great subject, the challenge is so the reason why Jay Morrison to me was so successful is because normally the person that sells on their story, that's how, and they use the race thing, that's how they get in to get their money.
100%.
And what ends up happening, it perpetuates more of, because he went from, pushing, that's why he even named the fund Tulsa.
Facts.
He used that to pull the people in 100%. To get their resources. But then when he elevate to guru, he get the term guru, then that's when our people tend to associate professionals with gurus. So 100%. Then once they get scammed, they don't do anything. But I'm gonna talk on one subject that most people may or may not agree with me on this. Okay. But who is the biggest culprit for most of the Black people? What institution?
Black people?
No, it's not Black people. It's actually the church. The church is the biggest culprit.
Oh my God! Now I gotta pray.
No,
keep going, Trey. I'm gonna pray before you keep going. I know where you're going. I am. Go ahead.
You
Let me
chose
finish.
violence on this one. Wait a minute.
The reason why I say that, because when you talk about the average working person, they normally have a spiritual relationship, and that's the place they go for most of the healing, success, and prayer. But the church, the church is the biggest stronghold for community, and what ends up happening, the church don't have the resources to give the people, so now they feel comfortable seeing professionals. See, that's what I think we missed that part. Because what ends up happening, if you think about a lot of people, even we got some people that was in the chat. Lash's Journey was in the chat. She learned about finances through her church because they was offering the financial peace class where people can go. She went through it. The church had already paid for it. She learned basic finance, and then she took that, got her credit right, and was able to get into real estate.
No facts. What's your question? What you asked me no question. You keep going.
Right, but my question was, when it comes to all of this, what would you say then the conversation need to be to the average working person to kind of get them on board, or see where we can fill the hole for the average working person?
No, okay, that was about 3 questions. The first question is, I believe with you 100% on the church. I believe the church is really the only institution Black people have. If you talk about a big firm or a big organization where people control, the Black church, I think collects about 10 million, 50 million every Sunday. What all the Black churches is. And if you go in the hood on every Black church, somebody drove through Chicago and looked at every Black church. There was 2 on the corner. It looked like it was Beirut in there. So the question is, where is all that money going to, and how's it funneling back to the community? Exactly. Right. So I'm not disagreeing. Now there's a few mega churches I think are doing some things and stuff, but overall, if you're talking about where the Black resources is and the Black main dollar is, and it's not turning over, I would say we have to hold pastors in the community accountable. But I'm gonna have Mortgage Boss pay for me. She up there looking a little uncomfortable a little bit, but.
Oh yeah, I go now. Let me tell you about me.
Hold on, let me finish. I'm gonna let you go.
You're gonna find me on Sundays in my 5th pew at the St. Paul Baptist Church.
Right, but like I say, our churches ain't bad, but I agree with you too. So, but the question is, and I'm still trying to figure out what that is where does the average Black person go that they trust to get basic education? And because I used to be a college guy, college is too expensive unless you're going for a SIM or a certain type of major. So if that's kind of out of bounds and you're not going to community college, like you said, where is that at? And 2 is, I'm a tech bro. Y'all see me on tech channels. The problem is now is tech has become the new Bitcoin. Everybody mama's got a course. We're going to show you do this 2 certs. You're going to be making $100,000 next week, right? So I'm with you, Intentional Millionaire. I'm trying to figure out what that is myself for the average Black person, especially the average Black man. So, and that's kind of what I push and kind of how I do. But I agree with you 100% on the Black church. To Mortgage Boss, not all Black churches, but that's too much money to be kind of going in a black hole with no accountability.
Well, I mean, again, you'd have to look at each and every individual situation. I can say this. I recently did inquire about doing some home buyer education at the church. The problem is the church is so big, it's multiple lenders, multiple realtors, and it can appear optically that you're like promoting, because I mean, at the end of the day, I think somebody said it like, nobody does anything because they want to help, right? It's like, well, I'm gonna get something out of it.
That's what I was saying.
And so they're looking at it like, I don't know. So I think the only way to really do something like that would be to bring in a nonprofit like a NACA or something like that, which my church did used to do. NACA, if you're not familiar, NACA is a program that is backed by Bank of America as a result of the 2000 housing crash, where people are able to go, low to moderate income people are able to go to get education so they can get a no down payment, no closing cost home loan. And the interest rate is significantly lower than whatever the market rate is. And so they did offer those workshops at the church, but that was before COVID. The other thing I think that we have to also acknowledge is the church is very different now post-COVID than it was pre-COVID. So I mean, that's my take on church, but your other question about like where people getting education from, as far as home buying is concerned, specifically TikTok. Like I sit in these professional development sessions on a monthly basis. I subscribe to multiple publications. I am a participant. I'm actually on a subcommittee here in Charlotte for fair housing with the city of Charlotte. TikTok, the largest home buying demographic is millennials. TikTok is the first place they go, followed by YouTube. And because again, everybody's out to get something, you customize or you tailor, craft your message to who you're trying to capture. And so in doing so, you may leave out information. I might say, oh, we got a loan, want to check your income. And then it's like, ooh. But I left out the part where you need 20% in 6 months of reserves, right? But that's the only thing they hear. You have this selective hearing. So because of that, and because we understand how these SEOs and cookies and all of that works, you done went here like this, like that, and you've trained your algorithm to only tell you certain information. And so now you're running around and you're going to shop around until you get the answer that you like.
Yeah, that's
And so that just reinforces a certain view of, oh, I shouldn't need any money to invest. Well, how do you invest no money and get something from it? Or, oh, I don't need to have good credit, or whatever the scenario is that is going to fit that individual's their perceived best interest.
Right. And to kind of speak on what Tim just said about the churches, I think that it's important for us to realize that Dave Ramsey's financial peace exists in a lot of communities outside of the Black community. And even myself, as far as me developing the language and me developing at least the foundation of what questions I need to be asking, what things I need to be looking for in my financial situation or my future partner's situation, I developed those as a result of me really listening to his callers, understanding what his formula is, and it helped me to say, okay, if this is the ground floor of what I need to understand, then I know everything beyond that is just the upside of it. It's over and above that. Maybe I can't really agree with his positions beyond finance, but his financial backing helps you develop this disciplinary habits that allow you to say, okay, all right, this is how I can feel good about my financial situation. But if I was really smart, this is the way that I would go about actually paying off my debt, i.e. the debt snowball versus the debt avalanche, where the debt snowball is where you're paying the smallest balance all the way up to the largest balance. And the debt avalanche is you paying the highest interest rate for your debt all the way down to the lowest interest rate. So understanding those two paradigms, you understand that one is a psychological win, which is the debt snowball, and the other one is potentially a long-term or even a time horizon win, where you're not going to have those debts for a long period of time because they're not going to have the opportunity to generate that much interest because you're chucking away the one who's taking away the most from your income in general.
But just a little pushback. Y'all know me. I'm the oldest one up here. I'm still living in the old man's land. Sim, you're 100% correct. And you have a plan. You have a degree. You getting there. As a man, if you don't own nothing and control nothing, I'm trying to be Jay Morrison. I'm trying to get a Maybach and look cute in a nice suit. I'm not worrying about a snowball. I ain't worrying about avalanche. I'm trying to get somebody sexy like Mixed Mortgage because I'm old and fat. So I ain't got time for all that stuff you just talking about, Sim. That's cute, but like you said, but how do we get that mindset to change like Intentional Millionaire? We know it's not right, but how do we get it changed? And we know why it's like that. because when you in prolonged poverty, you're never gonna think straight. Never.
Right. I think the key to that is the two things that I really champion behind. We have to get people to believe they can do better, and then we got to show them the action on how to make that happen. And it has to be people that looks like us, that comes from a genuine standpoint. But that's why I went to the church, is because when you think about if you think about poverty or lower income, that's one thing they do have, and they do faithfully, is go to church or give to the church.
The average black man not in the church because it's
Well, I
a
ain't talking
street.
about.
You just said church. There's no black dudes in the church.
Right. There's no black
dudes.
I know none.
Let me finish. Let me finish. I know it's not black man in the church, but what I'm saying though is the church is still the stronghold when you think about the woman and the kids. She's there. So we can't get the current black man, but what we need to do in the current church is get the new kids exposed, because it's not the current generation that's important. It's the new generation that's more important, because it's hard to train a old dog new tricks.
The problem is,
and I think that's why I was just mentioning that, because if you take about all pockets, that's the one thing that you can go in any pocket. You can go in Chicago, you can go in Florida, you can go in Texas. You know that there's going to be blacks with lower income communing together in a church.
I guess for me, just a little pushback, Tim. I'm with you. Once again, you trying to get to the young black person. I agree. The average black man knows there's no financial gain anymore. Since in the old days, I used to go to church because I could meet this guy worked in the Ford plant, or this guy worked in the bank. He can help you get a job. Those guys don't exist in the church. So once I'm 14 and my mom can't with me anymore, I'm leaving, Tim. That's my only issue. I just don't see that type of, in the mega churches I do, but when you go to the regular church, I just don't see those type of men in there making those type of pushes. I think Miss Mortgage Boss agreed with me, Tim. That's all I'm saying. She gave me a point. She gave me a point. That's all I'm saying.
And I'm not disagreeing with that. I'm just saying that we got to start somewhere. Instead of talking about what's not there, we got to start somewhere. That's what I'm talking about.
I agree with you on that, Tim. I agree.
Because if we never start nowhere, we just gonna go another 20 years and we're gonna be in the same place.
Go ahead, Perry.
I think it's marketing. That's one thing we've never done is we don't market. We allow hip hop to do the marketing, which is trash. And we don't market what it's really like to be. That's why a lot of times, and I'm not even gonna get on the marriage, right? But it's like they always say, like I'm married, right? I don't go on here trying to tell a bunch of people about how great marriage is and this and that, because they don't want to hear it. But what I do make clear is financially, overall, they're not going to be able to hold a candle to my wife and I, because we both work, we both make good money, and we do it as a team. So many of the people on the outside are just like the people that could step up and show people stuff. They're kind of excoriated, right? So it's about trying to make it in a way. For example, like the financial piece for me, where it shifted things for me, I was 22 when I took it. And it just made me realize, like, you know what? Just the way he breaks down, and the numbers are way higher now, but you know that he breaks down the car payment and how people just spend their whole life if you invested that car payment. So what it made me do was say, you know what? I can get about any car I want, but you know what? I just keep on going to get the same old Altima, because I take the rest of that money and put it in, other investments and things. And then when the property pays for the car, I'll go and get what I want, but I will not buy no fancy car unless it's paid for by first getting a property. We have to start teaching people that, hey, you can have it, but here's the benefit. If you want the Range Rover, that's cool, but get the property, let it pay for it. And guess what? Even after it's paid for, you still have the property kicking off profit. It's like we got to get them to understand that. And I do agree with you that there is definitely a problem, because we like the flash so much. It's that very flash. Can't afford it anyway, but that's what's keeping you from really being able. Like if you got probably one of my favorite restaurants here is probably Papado. If you go to Papado and you got to struggle and think about, oh man, how am I going to drop 120? That's a sad life, man. I'd rather just go to Shoney's. and just ball out. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's all about your mindset. I'd rather just keep it simple and get to enjoy myself than be faking the funk and be uptight about it. But we haven't done that because we're always trying to keep up with the Joneses, as they say. So I agree there's a problem in our community with that. For sure.
Well, go ahead, Miss Mortgage Boss. I've been talking all day. Go ahead.
So just real quick, I think we need to first define the Joneses, because I made a statement yesterday. Huh?
You go ahead. You.
No, the Joneses for black people is black culture. That's the problem.
Yep.
So I made a statement on my IG yesterday, just based on some things personally, some things that I've seen, and I saw that bacon was $10.99 a pound at the grocery store, and I almost broke down in tears. Like, I couldn't take it. Like, I was like, this is not what y'all promised me. Like, I did everything y'all told me to. Like, right? And so I just reflected on that, and I'd seen this viral TikTok that said that people are making the most money they ever made, and they're the brokest that they've ever been, and just a lot of things kind of flooded my mind. And I made a statement yesterday. I was like, y'all, 100,000 is not the goalpost. A lot of times in the community, like, oh, you made it if you make six figures, and I'm like, well, hold on. When you between 100 and $999,999, there's a lot of space in here,
right?
But we are struggling. Not even staying struggling.
No,
we are fixated. It's not, because it goes back to mindset, right? If you don't know you behind, and don't nobody tell you that you behind, you just twirling around and tootsie rolling your life away, right? So I made the statement, and I said, y'all, this is something that originated 40 years ago. Like, $100,000 was the move 40 years ago in the 80s. Right. That same 100,000, the new number is 400. And so we're trying to get to the number from 40 years ago. You're literally hustling backwards.
Right. Yeah, I agree.
It's not something that's talked about out loud. It's not something that's stated. I'm outcast when I say stuff like that. They're like, oh my God, I can't believe you said it. I'm just telling the truth.
Yeah.
If bacon went up 20% and my income didn't go up 20%, I'm at a deficit.
Right.
That's a problem, right?
Well, I agree.
Go ahead.
I was gonna say, I agree. That's why, you know what? Years ago, mine shifted. It ain't even money. It's the point. I do what I want, and really don't have any. There's enough properties where I do what I want, and I'm gonna still work because I like to work, but I can stop working and do whatever I want. So it's not even about the dollar amount.
It's freedom.
Yeah, it's freedom. That's the thing. Because the thing is if I got freedom, or what my mind can come up with, that's when the money really starts coming in. It's trying. So mine has been more focused on time, because the time will make that number. But I definitely agree. This 6-figure thing is so old. It's old as dirt. It's just not enough. That's why people are fleeing California now. I mean, it's like they can't afford to live there. So,
but nobody wants to say that out loud, and I got pushback.
I'm pushing in a minute. Go ahead. I'm pushing.
That's
great
fine.
push.
I got pushbacks. Well, why don't you just want people? If people are just happy where they are, they don't know that they're not happy because people aren't having the conversation around them to let them know that no, that's not how life is supposed to be.
Right.
I'm gonna let you finish, Miss Morgan, before I jump in.
You got it.
Okay, let me stretch. I got pushback. My only pushback to both y'all's little. Only 8% of dudes make 100,000. Only 6% of women make 100,000. So how can you say that's no money when nobody's making it?
The bigger question, though,
is no money when you can't. If this number was so amazing,
well, nobody's making it. Well, I say my thing is, you saying it's not amazing, ain't nobody making it. So that's my only pushback.
That's my point that I'm making. People are stuck and fixated in numbers that no longer will allow you to be productive and let you do normal basic things. You cannot buy a house.
Facts.
Like that's like a normal basic thing. I likened it to this. When I graduated from North Carolina A&T, Aggie Pride, in 2005, I got a job working at a radio station. I made $2,500 a month. My rent was $619. Okay. Take the same situation. A kid graduating from college today might make double that, yet and have 3 times the amount of student loan debt.
Right.
Yep.
And their rent gonna be half of that. How does that make sense?
Well, I think Tim brought it up earlier. They're responsible. Did nobody tell them to go get no $100,000 in debt? They should have went to community college and did the right blueprint.
That don't solve the rent issue.
But it solves
that
the
doesn't
income.
solve
So
basic needs.
I think I agree. I
Go
agree
ahead,
with
Tim.
Professor Black Ops because the problem is people go so far. They either go too far to the left, too far to the right, and they forget about we got to go through the middle to get to the right. And so what he's saying is true, and what you're saying is true also.
Oh, I know it's true.
The 100,000.
I know I'm right.
The 100,000 is not enough, but the challenge is we can't even talk about 100,000 until we get all the vast majority of the population from 40-some thousand. That's all he's saying.
But the big problem is mindset.
Tell somebody, like that's my thing. Those two statements cannot live in the same space. You can't say, oh, okay, we'll go from 40 to 60. You still in the same situation, right? If you don't push the narrative that 100 is the absolute basic minimum, right?
Yeah, I agree with that.
If that's the new official bar, now it's no longer, oh well, I hope I can make 60, because you're moving at a much slower pace to try to meet that. You're not as aggressive as you could possibly be with your goal. You may not be as ambitious in really truly analyzing the major that you might have. Now I'm gonna tell you, I'm journalism major. I'm none of these fancy degrees, y'all. Y'all engineers and computers. I wasn't that smart. Okay.
But look at the job you do, though, right? Look at the job you do.
Right, but
it still plays into that. Let me just say this real quick. I believe the biggest problem is mindset to begin with. And so that's why when people say, well, everybody can't, only such and such percent. Yeah, but I was always going to be in the top of that. And wouldn't nobody going to tell me otherwise until we get other people to somehow lift up. But a lot of that starts at home. And that's where the course gets set in the wrong direction to begin with. So mindset is such a big part of that.
But like you said, though, too, is I'm a tech guy. Everybody knows that. When you throw in automation, machine learning, robotics, 30 million people about to get chopped off in the next 15 years and don't even know it. Robots going to take their jobs. You can see it slowly coming in today. When you call now, you used to get Mexico and Iran. You get please press 1 or talking to the mic. You're not going to. So a lot of people going to lose their jobs and don't even know it. So she talking about 100. They're going to be happy if they can get back to 40.
Right, but I
where
think
they gonna live?
But this is what I'm saying.
Intense in California. Go ahead, Tim.
So, but what I'm saying is, though, I think we need to stop just talking about the income and talk about what the skills and what jobs we need to make that type of income. Because the problem is we normally do this blanket, oh, well, you need to make 6 figures. Okay, but if you ask the person, they couldn't tell you one job that makes 6 figures. But we talking about it. So that's what I think.
That's us, though. We marketed. You know what we marketed? Get your degree, get that paper.
Right.
We didn't tell them what to go get.
Right.
And then you go immediately jump from that to being a rapper or a stripper.
Right.
Those are the only options.
Yeah.
Right. So I think we got to do a better job of when we talk about going from 40-some thousand to 100,000, we got to say from you to go to 40 to 100, you need to be looking at these particular professions or you need to be getting these particular skills. If you're not going to do that, it's not going to happen. That's a real conversation. Not all this, well, 100,000 is the new standard, but based off of what? I think we done a great job of just talking in this, but we never been specific on one particular thing or giving them an option of paths that's going to lead them down that track.
I think it's twofold, though. I think it's both. What she's saying is, we have to raise the standard. Like, hey, if you're making 100,000, kudos, that's cool, but you're not really doing anything anymore. Maybe 40 years ago you was balling. I mean, there was cats in Detroit pushing cars down the assembly line making that 30 years ago. So I think you got to raise that standard, but also we have to start teaching, hey, here are the degrees. But the piece of that is you can literally get online and look. And it's like, hey, here are the degrees. These are safe jobs that aren't going away, these types of things. So I do think it is raising the standard, But at the same time, like you said, intentional is telling people, hey, here's the skill set that you need. And what you will notice is people that are successful have multiple skill sets. They don't just do one thing. They've got different tools and stuff like that. So we just have to stop teaching, this whole thing, the kick they've been on, seven types of income. I mean, God, have 12, have 4. It doesn't really matter. Just know that you got to be getting it from different places. Don't just come.
Okay, I'm going to push back on that just a little bit.
But I disagree with that. 7 forms of income. You got to get one good income first.
I agree, but I'm saying you can have different streams, but you got to. You're right. You got to be good at something.
Right, but that's my problem with that whole concept. Most people just say 7 forms of income, multiple streams of income, but you don't have one good one that makes over 6 figures yet.
You're going wide and not going deep.
The other 5 or 6 come after you get one, because now you have the resources to go get more.
Right. Go ahead, Ms.
And because your mindset now believe that you can make more, get more, have more, be more, become more, and do more.
Right. Yeah.
Go ahead, Ms. Boss. Go ahead, Ms.
No, that was it. Like that he hit it right on the head. I see so many people, especially in real estate.
Oh my God.
I'm a realtor / lender / I can fix your credit / I can get you an LLC /
Like, yes,
just
please.
one.
You
Get good
can't
at
do
one.
it all. Yeah, I agree. And I think what we as people must also do, and I'm going to use him because he's on the screen, lead attorney is a great example. Now, it's sad that nowadays I could just hop on a stream and tell you about how much I know all this about divorce and all that. Don't know nothing about being no attorney, and people will allow it. We got to start calling that out. We got to stop allowing that to happen. Like, we got to stop letting this happen, and we got to call that out. But we've created an environment, and I'm not even going to get into him deep, but I'm still waiting on Umar Johnson's school. I'm still waiting on it. I'm still waiting. But if you say something, then you're just hating. We got to, as a community, we really have to. We got to set things straight, and we got a mess from the bottom up. But I agree with Intentional Millionaire. We've got to focus now on the future. So the way I look at it is this: it starts at home. Right. My 2 boys, financially, they will be able to work for themselves. They can go work. Their college will be paid for. They can go work for someone if they want. They will work for someone at some point to know what it's about, but they will have the option to do what they want, provided they learn and earn that. I'm not just giving them nothing. That's my contribution. And they'll be expected to do the same for the next generation. That's my contribution, because I can't. So that's where it starts at home. And then I look further than that. How can I go help other people? What can I do next to go help? So I think it's about, if we want to contribute, it's about who wants to be helped and how do we help them? But I'm not trying to help everybody. I'm not trying to save nobody who don't want to be saved. And we have to stop a lot of that too, because a lot of people just don't want to go on the journey,
Yeah, I guess my only little pushback in it, and like you said, I believe it starts at home, but the problem is our community is upside down, where the things like Tim said and Simsea said and you said, engineering's not cool, tech is not cool. People used to pick on me when I was little. The things that are cool is rapping and athletics. I'm like, LeBron James is an outlier. If I was 6'9" and 250 and could jump like a deer, I would make $100 million too. I'm 5'7", short and black. It's never gonna happen. My daddy was 5'7", and my mom's, I think, 5'1". Genetically, that's not gonna happen. But we put all our emphasis on the minute things that's never gonna make it. You don't give out big trophies for the computer lab. You give out trophies for basketball and football. Like Charles Barkley said, there's only 400 people in the NBA playing at one time. It's not thousands of people. So since our community is upside down, like Tim said, we're going to have to stop talking and try to promote it to turn that around. We're the only community to do that. So that's part of it. Because when I tell people get in tech, they was like, why would I want to be a nerd? Because we make 6 figures. And when you 40 with a lot of money, I pull a lot of babes, even though I'm fat now. I promise you, player. I promise you. But people don't see that until you get old.
Yeah.
Right? They don't know that till you get old. So how do you turn that around? Like you said, now I advertise because I got the nice car, I got the nice house. I be with the 22-year-old. I don't be dating appropriately. Now I'm kind of cool, but I'm old. Right? So how do we turn that around? Oh, real talk, though. Real talk. So I'm leaving that to the young guys. Go ahead, Perry. I'm leaving that to the young guys.
I was just saying you got to be intentional. I already knew, no joke. When I graduated before, if I had $1 for every time I scribbled on the paper, all right, here's what I'm gonna make. I'm choosing this because I know that within about 3 years I can move. Huh?
How tall are you, Perry?
Okay. I can get to, I knew I could get to 80. I knew I could get to 80 in about 3 years.
How tall
I figured I can tall 6'3".
Oh, come on, man. I'm greedy. Cut him off intentional. Just block him, man. Yeah, the lawyer, get him out of there too. These 6'3" brothers. Get him out of there. Now go ahead, Perry. Go ahead.
Are you good?
Get the brothers out of there, man.
I had it planned out, and I had an option when I graduated. I could stay in Alabama and go and move to Montgomery, or I could go to Houston. Now, I knew that I would probably come out making 60. Now, I started out, I was going to do engineering or do supply chain management, logistics. Now, an engineer told me, am I prepared to sit down all day? Now, I don't know if that was true or not, but I was not prepared to sit down all day. And I knew if I went into the field I went into, I can move around, do different things, travel. So that's what I ended up choosing. I did the math on what's it cost to live in Houston, what's it cost to live in Montgomery, Alabama. I did not want to be in Montgomery, but I knew that was a better option financially. I took that. Within 3 years, you hit 80, and we talked about this on another stream. And then, you work your way up, and then before you know it, you're in 6 figures. But it was done with intention. So that's the thing, because you don't want to shame what people do. But if you're telling me that you want to make 6 figures, but you're saying, oh, I'm going to go be a teacher, well, then you're not going to make 6 figures. And you have to, and that's okay. But just be prepared that unless you figure out some alternative way of teaching, or whether you go all the way in and become a professor, you're not going to just be teaching first grade and making that type of money. And you have to know that going in. So we've got to have those conversations up front. And I do think we've got to stop saying college is, not to go to college, because the problem with that is that's still where that is still where money's being made from. Right. It's about how you do it now. You have to change the same way with investing. If you invest in real estate now, you can't just go into deals and think they'll work out. It's about how you do it at these high interest rates now. It's still good to do it, but how do I do it now versus when I could do it back in 2010? So that's the way I look at the college thing is, scholarships, things like that. You really got to look at that, but you do have to measure these trade schools and those types of things right up beside it, because many of people went to ITT Tech and all that, and it ain't worth nothing. So you gotta, what I'm saying? We really have to investigate and get more into every decision we make to be able to get the best result. And it's possible, but the community's got a lot of stuff they gotta work out. We've been sold a lot of trash over the years.
I think that what Professor Black Ops is stating is true about where we stand today, but we can't major in the minors, and we can't allow the people who are representing us on the lower end of the spectrum to be the antithesis of what the entire group is doing, right? Like at the end of the day, what happens is we have to raise the bar, like Tim was saying. We have to change our mindset. I would say you should take inventory, right? Pay attention to what you're doing on a 15 by 15 minute basis throughout the day, right? What are you listening to when you're going to work? What are you listening to when you come home from work? What are you listening to while you're at work, right? What are you doing when you get home from work? All those things will allow you to take inventory into who you're spending your most valuable asset, which is our time. Who you really investing it in? You're investing it in organizations that are going to pay you in the future, or you're investing it in things that are not going to pay you at all going into the future, whether it be entertainment or something that's just leisurely. At the end of the day, when I was in my lowest of lows, when I had no opportunities, I was working. I don't talk about this a whole lot. I found myself in a situation where I was being paid the least amount of money almost I'd ever been paid as an adult. And the only thing that I had were books. I had the Rich Dad, Poor Dad collection, and I took the books and I would sit in the fueling truck at the airport. And in between airplanes, I would sit in the plane instead of lollygagging with the rest of the people on the ramp. I would sit in the truck and I would read the book. And what I discovered was that I became addicted to my growth. I became addicted to learning. I became addicted to the possibility of who I could become in the future. And I started to invest within. And I didn't really rely on anyone externally. And the books were worth whatever they were, whether it be me renting them from the library or whatever it costs for me to buy them from the thrift store or whatever. At the end of the day, we all have 24 hours in the day. And we have to figure out that those 24 hours are the most important asset that we have before us. The way that we use that is indicative of what we're going to have in the near future. And there's no way we could squander them on people and things that don't pay us dividends going into the future at all. That's what I understand.
Sincere, what did the other people that was lollygagging think of you when you were studying? What I say, investing into yourself, money, time, reading books. Somebody asked me a quick question on the YouTube channel. He said, "How much do you invest in yourself every year?" I go, "Damn, that's a good question. I never thought about." But what did the other people think of you while you were doing that, Sincere?
I didn't even have the time to be concerned with them. I was too broke to consider anything else. But I can tell you within 2 years of that, I completely changed my credit situation. I learned about the credit game and how to put myself in a good position from a credit standpoint, started a business, and I had employees working for me and alike. And I knew that I had this itch in order for me to be involved in some sort of business. And I had an opportunity to pursue those things, but all those things happened as a result of what I was doing in those fueling trucks, whether it be 30 minutes at a time in between airplanes. It even got to the point where I used to be a fueler, right? So I would drag the hose, connect to the airplane, and I would have the book in my hand, and I would have what they call a dead man, which is the trigger where you're fueling the plane. I'm holding the dead man in my hand, and I'm reading the book while I'm fueling the plane. And I know, okay, I'm putting about 36,000 pounds in this plane, so I have a little bit of time for me to sit up here and read this book. I became that addicted to it. And once you become that invested in your growth and you want to do it, you want to hurry up and do whatever it is that you're doing so you can get back to it, that's when you know you're on your way to becoming the next version of yourself, or the best version of yourself, or whatever you want to say.
But real quick, I'm throwing this to Intentional Millionaire. I agree with you 100%. Even at my age, being in tech, I still have to learn. I argue with my grandson. He said, "Grandpa, that's for nerds. I'm athletic. I don't need to study or read." I'm like, "I'm about to slap you in the next week because I still believe in whooping." People think that's nerdy stuff. People don't give that even respect. So like Perry said, how do we turn that thought pattern around in the community?
So I'll say this real quick.
Uh-oh.
Because I mean that was kind of my take, right? I'm like, no, C's get degrees, okay? That was the way that I was on, right? And and things worked out. Like two things. One, I did kind of fall into this with slight strategy, right? After falling down a couple of times. Very unlikely made a very good point of what my situation was. I always knew I was gonna get there, right? I didn't know how. I wasn't as intentional about it when I was, 20, 21 years old. But I did, right? So yeah, after falling down so many times, you start to value reading and classes and things like that. Some people are going to learn through experience. That was who I am. There ain't an amount of stories you're gonna tell me that's gonna get me to believe something until I have gone through the fire myself. And a lot of people are like that.
I guess, you see the consternation on my face. And once again, I'm throwing you in Perry. I think you're a special young lady. And most people ain't gonna never get this love. I think it's a fairy tale. Most people fall down, they ain't getting up. Most of those people looked at Simsia, they still where they're at and they still ain't moved. So a lot of people this shit ain't gonna happen magically. I think you a bright young lady and you made it happen. I think 80% of those people ain't gonna be able to do that.
Which is fine. I think that's the key component. I think we have to understand that you can't bring everybody along. A war is never won without casualties. That's one, and that may be a harsh reality, but it's real. That's one. The next thing is you supposed to be, so just like you asked Sim, that was my journey because the internet wasn't as big when I started my journey. And my journey started in the library, sleeping in the library, going there after work and leaving when they was closing. And my friends talked about me, they joked, the family, they say stuff, but it didn't matter because when you are on it, you just know that you're going after something, and you have to expect that most people, the closest people, not going to follow you initially anyway. But you become the example that as time goes on and they see the change in you, then some of them gonna want to emulate you. The problem is you just don't know who's watching because most of them not gonna tell you, the closest people. But because when you become that light for other people, part of your responsibility, at least in my opinion, is you give back to other people through your efforts and do your duties. And from that, you'll be able to attract and help somebody else that may be at the bottom trying to get out. See, because we can't do it all by ourselves, because at the end of the day, your journey is an individual thing, but the person has to be ready for the journey. And I think too many times when we have these type conversations, we blanket for all the people and we forget about whenever you got anything, when you got a data sample of numbers, it's never going to be 100% anyway. And that data sample is always going to be around the minority of that data sample. It's not going to be the majority. So if we look at it from that perspective, we just have to know it's not our job to try to bring everybody. Our job is just to be the light and to inspire somebody else that wants to follow. And I think that's the key. But now going back to one thing that was shared, the reason why I also said the church was because we supposed to be, instead of kids and parents getting their exposure from social media, the celebrities, things like that. See, that's exposure can actually start right there in the church. Meaning they're able to see a nerd. They're able to see a mortgage professional there in the church, because the more that you plant seeds at a young age, the better outcome you trying to base the best outcome as they get older when they're trying to pick a profession. The challenge is communities hasn't done a great job of that. So by the time they become adult, they go to college, they don't know what they want to do because they never really got a good understanding in the home. And the school system failed them because the school system doesn't do a great job. The counselors normally don't do a great job of equipping students because it's not the system itself. Well, it is the system itself, but it's not the actual counselor, I should say, because the counselor normally have too many students and he or she may not have an actual one-to-one to tell us something to that particular student based on their personality, their skill set, so forth and so on. So that's why it starts with the family, but the family had to give examples at the youngest age so they can start to see, because the benefit of a child is they start to pick up based on environments. Right. At least, I mean.
No, you're right. Keep going. You preaching. Go ahead. you go.
So that's really what I think. I just think that that's how we change the exposure, meaning us, like us on the panel, we need to start getting more into those places so the kids can see somebody that looks like them that's successful. But also in that same vein, this is the tricky side. We also got it because we are up against a bigger, I like to say a bigger villain, which is culture. So some things that we have to do to show that, okay, I'm not part of the culture per se, but I got to show you that I can do certain things just like some of these other people can. Because what that does is it shows that you now put an application behind the theory.
No, facts.
So that's just at least what I think.
And two is just piggybacking, and I'm still struggling with this. And I think young guys do it a lot is, and I think Miss Morgan, but I have a hard time talking about my salary. I'm from the 80s. You talk about salaries, man, they were firing people. I think people are openly talking more about salaries. Like you said, your profession and really what you can do for that. So for me, being an old guy, that's kind of a change I'm slowly trying to make, right? And do that, trying to help the culture. So I think that's the small step I'm trying to make.
I think it's important to talk about salaries and money out loud, like naturally. I mean, I work with money, so I'm very comfortable making certain statements. However, I think that if you don't know how much somebody is making, but you see their lifestyle and you're making an assumption, right? Okay. So a kid gets out of school in 2005, graduate college. The popular job at the time, the cool job, was pharmaceutical sales, right?
No facts.
So in my head, I'm thinking with my little $2,500 a month, oh, I got to get to $60,000, right? And the whole time I'm running a race of I got to make $10,000 more, while I'm watching them on social media. Got a 5 series, 7 series. I'm still trying to get to the 60, right? Making $10,000 more a year, not realizing that we running a different race because they're trying to 10x their salary. So I'm trying to go out and recreate a lifestyle that is not in alignment with the same goals and speed that they're moving. Money can move at different speeds. It don't have to be $10,000, $10,000, 3%, 4% per year. Money can move as fast or as slow as your ambitions will allow, and as fast or as slow as your mindset will allow. But we got to have a conversation to at least plant the seed. That seed might not do anything today, but eventually it will grow. It might take you through your 20s and you like, oh, and then you wake up when you're 32 and you like, oh, light bulb is on. And you start looking around. And now you really do understand that birds of a feather flock together. And you do understand, okay, well, if he making $260 and they best friends, and I know they do the same thing. Well, okay, the third friend, he probably do. Okay, well, maybe I need to hang out with them. Those are real things, real actual outcomes that can come from just conversations, throwing statements out there. Because the individual in my IG that was defending the idea, I'm like, okay, I don't need you because you're not aligned with the mission that I'm on. You've already eliminated yourself. And we've got to start getting in the same circles with people that have mutual interests.
No, facts on that. Facts.
The real freedom is when you start, when you get to the point where you don't even really, I'm not saying you don't need it, but you don't really think about the paycheck. You don't even think about payday. It's just, hey, it's here. I work for it. It comes. And you really get to that point where, it's almost like, being on autopilot. But what I've really got to just come to terms with is we got to be honest that most people really don't want it. The reason I say that is,
facts.
I mean, you can't tell me. See, for me, the pain, being broke is painful. So for me to sit down and figure out a plan to come up out of it, man, that was better than the misery of literally at points being like, man, how am I going to eat this month? Like that, I'm never trying to go back there. So for me, it's like, you reach this point where you can't stay where you're at and you move forward. So my question is do people really want it? And I don't believe that most of them do, because at the end of the day, you can easily get online and see what jobs there are and start to put together a plan. Okay, let me ask some people how they got this degree or got these skills. People won't even do that anymore. So I think people just don't really want it. I think there's a bigger thing of that. So we have to get down to who actually does want to be successful and really want to go for it first. And those are the people we focus on. Because a lot of people are fronting. Because look, anybody can say, yeah, I want a Lamborghini. Yeah, but if you're not doing anything to get it, you don't want one. You're just saying it. You're not, when you want something, you'll go for it. So we got to get down to who really wants, to achieve things and then focus on those. Like I said, you cannot save a whole community. They don't want to be saved.
Like you said, I think most people, especially young people, they don't know what's a price to this. All right. They're just staying up all night. Your brother said y'all was in the library. I've been getting, certifications, but there's a price to success. And what price are you willing to pay for? Some people go for the price is, I'm gonna put my freedom up and I think I'm gonna win. Right. So a lot of times they are paying the price, but they paying the wrong price. Right. They think they're gonna be the only drug dealer that makes it through unscathed, or I'm gonna flip this key like I'm Frank Lucas on a movie, right? That shit don't exist. But they taking that chance, and that's a big price. They just don't succeed. And once you get a felony, you really in the hards up, right? Unless you Jay Morrison, tall and cute with the nice suit and can steal $16 million from the community, you might be all right, right? But so I think people don't know what price to pay and how to pay it. And I think Tim said at the beginning, you get it too quick, man. It's a setup. It ain't really gonna work for you in the end, man. So I'm gonna let Tim shut this down, man. I'm gonna be up here all night. Tim looking tired, so I'm gonna go get off my soapbox, man.
But no, so we gonna get ready to wrap up. But it's a great conversation because it's a conversation that really needs to be had because we all want the best for loved ones and people around us, our community, but we also get frustrated because when we try to help, we met with more pushback because the signature villain of the culture has more influence. So with that being said, I'm gonna go around and let everybody get their final thoughts. We're gonna start with you, Professor Black Ops, since you already off the mic. You got your mic ready to go.
I appreciate it, man. I love all you young brothers, and especially Mortgage Boss for coming. I had to do a little pushback. I thought y'all were a little hard on the average person. That's all I'm saying. Y'all doing great things, and one of the I'm a tech bro, so if you're trying to get into tech, y'all can reach out to me or any other panels. Y'all know I hang out with a lot of tech people. Keep up the good work, and old people definitely gonna come up on the panel. I'm not scared. That's all I got. Thanks for giving me a little time today, fellas. Thanks for giving me a little time.
All right, well, we definitely appreciate having you on the panel. So we're gonna have next the Mortgage Boss. She's gonna give her final thoughts. So go ahead and close us out. Tell us what you got there.
I don't know. I think that as far as this conversation is concerned, I would just say be careful. Do your due diligence whenever you see any type of perceived opportunity. No one wants to help you. I hate when people say, oh, I like to help people. No, you don't. No one likes to help people. It's like red flag, okay? So I would strongly recommend, especially when it comes to real estate, when people are pushing, I just want to help, they're lying. Find somebody else to help you with your real estate endeavors. But I do have a channel that is all about helping people obtain wealth through real estate because I do real estate finance. So please follow me.
What's your channel? Drop it in there so I can subscribe to you.
Okay.
So in reference to this conversation, I think that scammers have been around for a very long time, probably since the beginning of time. I think that for every person that thinks about doing things the right way, there's probably a couple of people that are thinking about ways to get around doing things the right way. So they're always going to exist. I think that it's important today to have some sort of paper trail associated with any financial transactions that you're participating in. There's no way that someone should be receiving funds and there's no sort of paper trail that'll tie them to receiving funds for insert the specific purpose. There's no way that you should be engaging in those actions. And also just remember that people who have an opportunity to passively invest are people who have earned that right through either a family office, some sort of fiduciary, someone who's accountable for those returns that they've promised them ahead of time. There's no way that you can really get around doing things the right way, the slow way, the way that you know that, okay, I didn't get it too fast, so this can't be something that's hard to believe. At the end of the day, you know that if somebody promises you 30% of your money in 4 months, and if you can't really get that from anywhere else, there's a high likelihood this situation is a little bit sketch. And it's not just a color thing. We saw our boy Cash Flow King. He's out there scamming people with a doctorate degree. So it's not so much a community thing. It's just the idea of people giving their monies to someone else in order for them to do it for them, instead of them taking it upon themselves to figure out, all right, what are we going to do in order for us to pull ourselves up by our proverbial bootstraps. You're muted, Tim. You're muted.
Let me do anything. All right, can you hear me?
Yeah.
All right, so Perry, go ahead and wrap up. And Mortgage Boss, I'm gonna post everybody's channels in the chat because Nightbot is cutting up.
Yeah, no, I think Mortgage Boss hit the nail on the head. It's due diligence, and I just think you really have to, when it comes to that, you got to analyze each type of investment or each situation, differently and accordingly. And that doesn't matter. It doesn't even have to be investing, right? If you select friends, you vet them to see if that's going to be a good person for you to be friends with. You got to do that with in everything in your life. You got to do that the same way you wouldn't want your kids just running off hanging out with anybody. You want to investigate and be like, okay, what are their friends' parents like or whatever. So we just have to do more of that, and we can't get sucked in to that deal of just trusting what a celebrity says. We saw that with crypto. All these celebrities endorsing something. They had no, Kim Kardashian don't know nothing about no crypto. She's just getting paid to endorse it. So, and then the last point I wanted to make, DJ Envy was quick to say he didn't get any money, but trust they're going to see the paper trail of money he got from the Pena guy for his payoff for doing that. So he's going to get hemmed up at some point. But that's all I got. I love these discussions. These are very important. I think this is part of the building block of what is needed. So it's been fun discussing it. That's all I got.
All right, and then I'm just gonna wrap up to say that for everyone in the chat, thank you for coming out, and for everyone watching this stream, just know that you can do it. We believe that you have the capabilities. It's just a matter of matching your belief with the effort. And you could reach out to anyone on the panel to help you with your particular needs. But the one thing I do want you to take away from this is do not just let someone come in and tell you how great something is without you doing your own homework and due diligence. That's why it's so important that you need to start working on building networks. And for those that don't feel comfortable with professionals, then whatever institution or organization you go to on a normal basis, start asking the questions of who are some professional people in that institution so you can start building trust, but also start allow them to help you help yourself. Because I think that's a key thing that we all can do. It's just a matter of us going out and doing it. I talked about the church today because I think that's a great place that most people can start, because it's somebody there. If you're willing to worship there and, pay your tithes, pay your offerings, for your spiritual belief, then you should be also able to ask questions to see how can you get help or get some information, or at least ask questions for somebody within that organization. That's one. The next thing is, if you're looking to level up in your professional career, then you may need to sit down and re-identify what you're currently doing and then bounce that on the fact that is that job or career going to be around the next 5, 10, or 20 years? Okay, that's one. And then on top of that, see what the new income potential going to be by doing possible career change or looking at some form of promotion so you can start really filling the gap from an income perspective. And then the last thing is if you older and you feel like time has got away, the first thing I want you to know is it's never too late. KFC was started, I think he was 62 years old when he started KFC. So the Colonel was able to do it, you can do it. So it's never too late. But the great thing that you have being older is you have wisdom. So you can actually do it faster, but you just got to leverage your network, leverage the people that you already know. And it doesn't have to be leverage as you using them. It could be leverage from the standpoint of you don't know, and good people never have no problem sharing other information with other people, because when you're just good at heart, you want to do good by people. So that's one. And then the last thing is for those of y'all that tune in, just make sure that you get a chance and find out what takeaways you may need for you, and then just start doing to work to become a better version of yourself. It's so many different ways now that you can go seek the information. Just pick one and at least go through the time of trial and error to figure something out. But to say now in this new era that you didn't know or you don't have the information, that just means that you're really not serious about whatever outcome you're looking for. So with that being said, my name is Tim, also known as the Intentional Millionaire. We're going to be sharing everybody's stream that was in today's chat that was on the panel. So make sure you go over and check out everyone, because we all bring great information to help you level up in whatever area you may need. But ultimately, it's on you to make the decision to do something. So catch you all on the next video. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks, everyone. And we're going to end the show.